It's every time with the intro music. Every time. Welcome to the Currently Unnamed Podcast, where the tea is piping hot and we are ready to spill. I'm Logan Murphy, once again without a cute intro, because I just don't have one.
Well, if you want a cute intro, it's me. I'm Lana, your resident diva, here to spill the tea, ready to give you everything you want to know. And I like my tea hot, so I hope we get that today. Period.
Thank you, Lana. Hey, baddies. It's Tajja with the fatty. Here to give you some tea for you and me.
And who are you?
Who are you?
It's me, Kyle Jennings. You may have recognized me from season 4 of the Penthouse. I'm officially pre-jury now, which is a little sad, but the pot is boiling and we have lots of tea to spill.
Period.
I'm still so sad, but I'm so happy you're here because you were easily, I remember when we did our cast assessment on a different podcast, which you should still go check out because they're great. You were easily one of our favorites. Like across the board, all of us were like, we love Kyle. This is a tragedy. But
yeah, I think yours was like definitely one of my sadder. I was like, not Kyle. Like,
Not
Kyle.
So undeserving to go at that moment that you did.
Really?
It was tragic. It was tragic. I was not happy about it, but but you're here with us now, so I guess that makes it better for me.
I'm excited.
Yes. So, y'all, we have got a few episodes to discuss.
Mm-hmm.
Just a few.
Just a few.
And by a few, I mean technically what, 7?
I have no idea. I lost count. How many?
7 of them. Yeah. So we're gonna be, and now they're acts. They're not episodes anymore, apparently.
Oh, they're acts.
Yeah, that's how they're described on YouTube now. I'm like, okay,
if that's what we want to do.
Sure. So we're gonna be discussing acts 8 through 13, and Act 8 had 2 parts for some reason. Again, the editing, Banishment. We love you for editing this for free, but honey, the edit.
Very confusing. It was very confusing, but we watched it. We figured it out. We're smart people. We got the
It took me a minute to figure out, especially our good old flashback moment. I think in episode 12, we'll talk about that.
The back and forth in between conversations, like this part of the conversation and this conversation, we'll jump back to this. I was like, ooh, this is giving me too much. I can't process it all. I need stick with one conversation so I could finish what they're talking about. Then let's jump. It was a lot.
But we appreciate you, Banishment, for taking over and helping out. Like, thank God, thank you so much. Kudos, y'all get a full kudos.
Period. A full.
Yes. So I guess let's start with Kyle. I guess like my main question for you was just how was your experience and how did you find it? Because I know you're not accustomed, like all 3 of us come from like the online mini gaming community. But I know that you don't necessarily come from that community. So how did you find this whole experience?
Yeah, I think that definitely, for those who don't know, this was like my first like any kind of game ever. I've always watched like Survivor, Big Brother, and like the big shows on TV, but like I didn't know like these kinds of games were out there. So I was really excited when Shane that reached out to me, and I was like, I checked it out. I was like, oh, this seems like something that like I'd be interested in. So I applied, interviewed, and got casted. And I was like, I guess we're going to Arkansas. And
going to Arkansas.
so,
Come on, y'all.
Hot Springs, Arkansas. It was pretty bougie, I may say. But yeah, I didn't really know what to expect. I did watch season 3 before going in. They recommended like, oh yeah, since you haven't really seen it, like watch at least season 3 because that'll be the most like similar version to what this will be played. They did explain that it would be slightly different. But so I watched all of season 3, and I think that kind of, for me, at least personally, like my strategy going to the game was very like, I didn't want to come out too strong because I know like up here I'm very strategic and like I like see everything, know everything. But I didn't want to come across as that because I've like seen in like other shows. It's like if you verbalize that you're super strategic, people be like, oh, they're too smart. Like get them out of here. But I think, and I saw season 3 and I felt like it was, especially after like experiencing like and going through like the entire show, which you guys will see, the drama I wouldn't even say has even begun yet.
Oh God.
It just gets more and more dramatic. Which will be really exciting to watch because like obviously like I wasn't a part of like the jury and on, so I heard about it, but like being able to watch it is really exciting for me. But yeah, my strategy going in was kind of like get to know everyone. So like you saw at the check-in, that was like night 0, and that was the same day that like we've all flew in. It was at like I got there at like 5 p.m. We were all sequestered into our own little rooms by ourselves for like 2 or 3 hours, and then like they're like, okay, we're filming at 9 p.m. Like get dressed, like you can shower if you want. They fed us, which is really nice, and then we're filming, and then we like met everybody. And my goal that night was just to like meet everybody, put a name to a face, and kind of like feel everyone out. Be like, oh, who do I like? Who am I like kind of skeptic as? Even though like I try to like give everyone like benefit of the doubt, even past first impressions. But I didn't realize that everyone. I said it like at the end of the episode I got voted out. I didn't realize that everyone was gonna go so fast. Like people were like making alliances. You saw that East Coast alliance being made right away. You saw like different people verbalizing, and I think that's like something that I should have done. Is definitely be like, I vibe with you, like I got you. But I also felt like I didn't want to make promises early on and say like, oh, yeah, like even though I just met you 5 minutes ago, I got you. Just because like that's not how I wanted to play my game. But I felt like that kind of not verbalizing those alliances quick enough, especially with this cast, because everyone was super, super like into it and excited to play. Whereas I felt like in season 3 it was a lot slower, where this was like super, super fast. Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like, do you think that, I don't know, because like for us watching the show, it didn't seem, you're saying it went so fast. Everybody was gaming instantly. I guess with the edit, we didn't see how fast. So maybe like in season 3, they felt the same way. Like watching it, we didn't realize how fast or how quickly they jumped into the game. And then it was like, but then experiencing it, because like even for in mini games, like the first game, I'm sure all of us could attest to, the first game we've ever played, we didn't realize how quickly you have to connect with people and latch on to people and make these alliances. And the game moves so fast. And it's like, I got 2 minutes to make an impression on somebody in a mini game. When you have in the live version, you might have a day to make those connections, build them up, and assure them like, I got you, I got your back, we can work together, and make them feel comfortable enough to want to keep you. So was that like, you just said it was a shock, but like, was that something that you kind of just was like not prepared for in the least little bit?
Right. Yeah. Like I said, I was kind of just like feeling everyone out and like kind of seeing like who I liked, who like I knew that like at least as from like not a game level, but like a person level, like, oh, I didn't vibe with them that much. But other people, they were like instantly like we got each other. But definitely like, yeah, even after that first night, I felt like people were already kind of like forming alliances. And I feel like, just like to sum up kind of like, I guess, my game and like my experience, I feel like I just didn't get like my footing in, because like I said, it's like no one wanted me out, and like I wasn't the target. I just didn't have as close connections as other people, so that's why I was always put in the bottom. But like every VIP, they would say like, oh, like that was the one person like I didn't really want to put in the bottom, but because I didn't have any more spots, he was there. And then because of the twist, I ended up at the bottom.
Horrible.
Because of that Joggers Alliance.
Okay, because it keeps getting brought up, and now apparently Austin was allegedly supposed to be a part of this too, but we got comments on our last video saying that this Joggers Alliance doesn't exist and never existed. So
but then they say but then they mentioned
John said it multiple times.
Right. I'm like, how are we saying it didn't exist?
I think it was Matt. I think it was Matt that commented. And if it was Matt, thank you. I think it was Matt and Edmund both commented, and it like also shed a little bit more light. And I was like, thank you. Because the more information we can glean about this season, it's gonna be better for all of us that have no clue what's going on. So like
let me put this out there to anybody who's watching who was a contestant in the Penthouse. Please comment on these videos and let us know what we're missing, because we're missing a lot. We're missing a lot.
My perspective of the Joggers Alliance is that, yes, they went jogging that morning. It was like the morning before the first challenge. So before the water balloon challenge, JP, Matt, and John went jogging, I guess, because we also that first night slept at different locations, which I personally believe it impacted the game. Some people may argue differently, but I think looking at the pre-jury, like it definitely impacted the game, because that very first night it was me, Jules, JP, Austin, Matt, John, and Robin. And other than Robin, every single one of us that were on the other house that first night before the first challenge, like sleeping wise, were voted out pre-jury. So So I just figured, and this is why I say that, and I'm not just like bitter. I'm like, oh, like it was unfair, but I think just naturally, because like you said, it's like you make connections like however you can. And like that first night after night 0, when we met everyone, we were allowed to like go back and to like our houses, and like they said, you can do whatever, like you guys can talk, you can hang out till you can have an all-nighter if you want, like you
can get in a hot tub.
Yes, like they weren't restricting us. So with the hot tub alliance, I'll explain again. This is all from my perspective. I'm not saying like this is what it was. This is what is true. This is just my perspective of things. I felt like, one, there was no hot tub alliance. I will say that. Like not one of us, at least to me, was like, okay, us right here are going to be an alliance. That was never said. But that night 0, the 7 of us, also to put it in perspective, there were 7 of us at, I'll say, the second location, and then 11 people at the main location. So big difference, especially pre-game.
Okay.
And because they said that we can like connect and like talk whatever, it's like there was hot tubs at both locations, so maybe they had their own hot tub night. But
I've heard a lot about hot tubs at various locations, so I don't know what to think anymore.
Right. Exactly. And so yeah, the 7 of us at our location, we all like, I believe, all 7 of us went in the hot tub. Maybe like all 7 of us were in there for maybe an hour and a half, and then some people stayed. Well, some of us went to bed, but we kind of all just bonded. We were like talking about our lives, and we like did get to connect. But me, from a game standpoint, I was never like, oh, even though I connect with these people, like this is what I want to be my alliance. Because like I saw him, like this is our 7 against 11. Like that doesn't look good. And it's like when it comes to VIP challenges, it's really up to the VIP that like, especially early in the game, that like dictates your fate. And it's like, if you notice from the first 4 rounds now, because Laurel just won VIP. I think that was technically round 4.
I want to say yes.
Yeah, from the first 4 rounds that you've seen, all 4 VIPs were from the main house. The original house from Night Zero. And if you notice the first 2 rounds, at least, even kind of round 3, I guess, most of the people that were consistently in the bottom were from like
your house. Yeah.
Okay, so question. How far apart were these locations? Like,
you could walk, but it'd be like a 15-minute walk. But it was
that's
like
sick. That is sick. I'm not gonna do that. And ain't nobody
like a 2-minute drive.
In the middle of rural Arkansas? Absolutely not.
And y'all don't have y'all weren't having y'all cars, so like who's driving?
Like some people did drive that were like closer to Arkansas. But like obviously like I flew, so I didn't have a car. So I'm like it's 11 p.m. I'm not walking over to the other house.
Exactly. That's what I was like trying to get at. Cause like who's gonna be going back and forth to try to mingle?
I'm so mad about is that like if like my perspective and my theory is like was true, like I was sequestered in the main house like when I first arrived. And then they're like, oh, they were reading off the list of the names that were going to each house, and they're like, oh, Kyle's in the second location, so I had to like grab all my stuff, my suitcase, and go to their house. Little did I know. But I try not to blame that entirely on like how the game turned out. It just you can't help but think that had something to do with it, at least like with the outcomes, because like those people in the other house, like they also got to bond that Night Zero. You know, so it's like, especially in the early rounds, like Laurel and Edmund, when they were VIPs, like they were like, oh, like this is nothing personal, like it's just who I've talked to the most. Who you've talked to the most is going to be
who you're living with.
Night Zero,
right?
You're living with, who you're sleeping with. And the reason I knew, and also like because I watched the last podcast and you were saying like how like, oh, like yes, I should have fought more, like as it got down to it, but kind of like what Phaedra said, it's like that's just not like who I am, where I'm like, especially early in the game, like I felt like I didn't have anything I could say like to Edmund when he was initially ranking, like other than like if I said like, oh, I got you, if you got me, because everyone was saying that. Sure. I didn't have a specific conversation or specific thing that I could say that like would like be something where he would keep me. And I knew as soon as it got down to Phaedra, JP, and me, like in the twist, I knew I was home, because I knew that Phaedra was going to be saved, and then it was going to be down to me and JP. And not because of the Joggers Alliance, but because at the second location, there was 2 houses at the second location. So there's 3 houses total. And at the second location, there was the 2 houses, and in one house, it was me, Robin, and Jules, and the other house was JP, Matt, John, and Austin. So Austin was already gone at that point. So in that house, slept JP, Matt, and John. So Joggers Alliance aside, and that's why they jogged, because those 3 slept in the same house. So I knew like it wasn't my fault that I didn't talk to Matt or anything. It's because in the same house, in the same room, and I knew like they were probably talking and stuff, like, and bonding, you know. So that's why I didn't feel like I could say anything or fight, just because I'm like, I saw it. I'm like,
I've done the opposite. I'm like, save me this time. I won't. I would have done anything. I'd have been like, I've been crazy. I'm like, save me, and good fortune will come to you. Your crops will grow.
Not your crops will grow.
And the frustrating thing is just that, like, because I went home on a twist, like if I went home on a vote, I would feel a lot more fine with it, because I'm like, okay, people voted for me. Like my game wasn't good enough. They voted for me. And it's like my fate was decided on one person, I guess 2 people, because they were ranking. And like so many people told me, they're like, we didn't want you out. Like no,
you should have picked me then. Hello.
Right? But the people who was in charge they weren't the ones saying it. It was the people who had no power, no deed to do nothing, saying,
I was in no position to save you, but oh my God, I didn't want to.
I said you should have sacrificed yourself. As soon as I walked out the door, I'd be like, stop, let me in.
Right. And I understand, because like there was 18 of us, like that's so many people. And it's like, even if, like, for example, like when Robin was the switch, I like knew that they were close with Julia. So even though, like, because fun fact, I flew in from I drove in the same car as Robin from the airport. So it was me, Robin, and Keaton were in the same car. Keaton was one of the first people I saw at the airport. But,
good.
So Robin, that's why I told Robin, I was like I know that we can like build our connection, and like but it's like at the same time I didn't want to verbalize it, and that's why I didn't say a name, because it's like if she didn't switch me, I just threw out a Nate, like with Nate, like Nate put JP under the bus, even though JP ended up getting switched, but it's like that showed that like Nate's willing to do anything and will say a name. So I'm like, yeah, if I don't get switched, like I'm not saying a name.
Well, Robin in that round as well, they were causing all of the nonsense, all of the drama.
I totally understand it. I totally understand it, knowing them, just because we love the drama.
I mean,
we do love.
We love it. We stand Robin here. Robin is they are a queen and they are loved.
Yeah,
but
like what they've been saying the past like couple episodes of like, we need to switch the house up. Like it's all the same people that keep getting voted off, and they say that because even though they were on the second location with us, they acclimated with the cast a lot like better. So I will give them like that props. Like I was like, great that she got out of like the stigma of the other location. But but they're like, oh, all the people that I liked got voted out or like are out of the game, like we need to switch the house up because like the same people are on the bottom.
Knowing the chaos that we know of Robin, that was very on brand. That was very Robin-esque. And I was like, that is the Robin that I know. That is the Robin that I love. That is the Robin who I play many games with. And Robin quickly will decide, I'm bored, so let's get somebody out that was never expecting to get out. So
and that's the thing. It was like early on, it was kind of boring because like the same people were getting put on the bottom because like people were scared. But yeah, like I definitely, as someone in the bottom 5 when they did that, I was like, oh shoot, what am I gonna say?
Honey, what are you doing?
Let's switch it up now. Let's do something different, please.
Right, let's switch it up right now. But okay, so let's dive a little bit into these episodes, or we will be here for 4 hours talking about everything, because we have several episodes to get through. So let's deep dive in, because we left off with Kyle going home.
With Kyle.
That's where we left off.
Yes.
Yeah, so where it picked back up the next episode was there was 4 people and they were voting on them.
Yeah, so the bottom 4 at this point was John, Phaedra, JP, and Audrey.
So this turned into a little bit of a interesting situation that happened.
Mess.
The switch happened, right? And okay.
So the switch happened. We're past the defender. So
right.
Kyle just walked out the door, and now. Oh wait, I have notes. I took notes on this.
Get the notes.
Yes, get the notes because I'm trying to keep it all in my head.
I have 5 pages of notes, so don't worry about that. I took notes. So we pick back up. Literally, the first scene is Xena immediately pulling Edmund aside and is like, so if we're all in an alliance, why is our alliance peppered across this ranking? And Edmund in confessional is like, well, obviously, if I put all of our alliance at the top,
people will realize.
Then it's going to be revealed that we're in an alliance. And like, I understand that, having like played a lot of these games. It's really interesting, Kyle, to hear your perspective as someone who hasn't played games like this, because a lot of these things, in especially this episode, I was like, oh yeah, I've dealt with that in a game. Oh yeah, I've been in that position. Like all that kind of stuff. Basically the consensus ends up being that Robin, this is the point that Robin is like, I want to keep JP because JP is more of a shield. So I think this is the point where we need to be pushing Audrey, because she's not, we could probably use JP a little bit more than we can use Audrey. There's a lot of talk about Nathan talking about JP because JP's searching for advantage cards in the front. And that's a whole situation that boils out later in the episode that we can also talk about. But yeah, the whole thing is basically just Laurel. And the other big thing is Laurel talking about how Phaedra said that Audrey said that she wouldn't have kept the top 6 deal from the first VIP challenge. So now Laurel and Phaedra are targeting Audrey, and now Audrey's doing damage control. And it's just
big mess.
Yeah, Audrey had I like Audrey. I really enjoyed watching Audrey because one thing about Audrey, she was scrappy. She was scrappy throughout. Every time she found herself in that bottom, she was like, I got to talk to everybody.
Which was every time.
Which was every single time.
I think.
But she always had a reason for people to keep her. And when she would say her reason, I'm sitting there watching like, that's actually not a bad reason to keep her. Like, it's actually not. I wouldn't like the reasons. Well, we'll talk about that later. But like this reason, she was like, Keaton is obviously gunning for me, which he was 100% gunning for her.
Oh, was he?
And
was he?
She was like, he literally came up and told me the first day or the first time, I'm voting for you. And that's it. Because Keaton is just that way. Keaton is like, I'm playing honest. I'm just going to tell you up front, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it. And she knew that. So her reason is like, look, Keaton is coming for me. If Keaton never has power, y'all know he coming for me, not for you.
Kind of like the shield argument.
Exactly. And it was a legitimate argument at the time because Keaton was 100% blinded to Audrey. He wanted her gone for whatever reason. I didn't see anything in the edit that would make him want to go for her, but I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but
I think from my perspective, it was more about like the other people that were in the bottom, he didn't want to go. So I don't, from my perspective, it was never like, oh, I don't like Audrey, but it's like out of the other people, like I don't want them to go, so Audrey needs to go.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I could see that, but it from the edit, it looked like Keaton just doesn't like Audrey, and he wants her gone. And I was like, "Wow, what is happening here? What did we miss?"
I was like, "Chill, homie, shit."
Right, chill out on Audrey a little bit.
I understood a little bit of this because I've played a game with Keaton and had a similar thing happen. Not to me, but he outwardly was like, "I'm voting this person out in front of that person." So for me, I was like, "Okay, I've seen this. I know this. I've experienced it." So that didn't really come as too much of a shock to me, but yeah, a lot.
Yeah, I feel like it was fine. I mean, and it's fine to have a target if that's your target and you go put it out there and be like, look, this is it. That's my target. That's what I want gone. That way, everybody else can feel comfortable enough to keep you because they know he's not coming for me. They're going for her. So why not keep them around? So I get it and I understand it. And I understand her argument to counter that. Like, Keaton is always coming for me. Y'all should keep me around. And when we get to that point of the vote, it was it came down to JP and Audrey. Right? Am I right? All right. JP and Audrey.
Yeah.
And I laughed. Me personally, I found it hilarious at Edmund's stance on how they were going to deal with this vote. Edmund said, I'm the VIP. Look, it's JP or Audrey. I don't know what we're fighting for. I don't know what we are about. I don't care what we're talking about. Let's go and then vote for either JP or Audrey, and then we'll figure it out. So ain't no need to talk about it no more. I was like, oh.
I mean, cut the shit. Let's go.
I mean, there's a few things that happened before that, namely a tie. We'll talk about
that. That was what was made it funny to me, is because the tie happened, and he like, look, this is what we finna do. So
this is what's happening. Y'all are not voting out Phaedra. Why was Phaedra even brought up? So here's I'm gonna say the other two big things in this episode, at least, that happen are the building of the alliance between Jada, Mona, Phaedra, and Audrey. And then also Nathan and JP and their whole situation.
They mended fences. They're mended fences. Because Nathan was like, I didn't know that about you. I didn't know that you know what your personal reasons were for coming here. I didn't understand. And JP told everybody, well, whoever asked, and was like, this is why I'm here. I came here for this reason. It's very personal to me. And I wasn't trying to be sneaky. I wasn't trying to be shady. I wasn't trying to be, I was just trying to play. And when I go off by myself, is to deal with my own internal issues so I can calm down and not ruin everybody else's game or fun or whatever. And I understand that. I get that, because sometimes all of us need that moment to just, woosah, breathe or whatever. And when there's 18 people trying to play a game, as well as production members, it's a lot of people. And it can get overwhelming. So I understood him saying, I wasn't trying to run off to be sneaky. I was running off to catch my breath and to get some air and to clear my head, because this is a lot. And I get it, because I literally just became very anxious in these days. So I understand being in situations where it's like, whoa,
like back up.
Right, it's too many people. I need to take a break and go hide out for a minute. But in a game situation, I guess that could look a little squirrely. Like, what you running for? Who you hiding from? Blah blah blah.
I'll say, I didn't realize until I saw, like, when the show released, when JP found his card earlier on, because I thought that he found it night 0, like the check-in episode, because the rumor was already starting that he found a card that night, because he was looking around that night, and like
we saw that in the edit a little bit too.
Yeah,
that he was looking.
So you didn't see him like take off, like start bolt run. You didn't see that part.
Were you not outside at that point?
No, I was. Oh, like when he did find the card.
Yeah, the first one when he like booked it. I'm like,
when he took it and ran like somebody lit his butt on fire.
I don't know where I was. I think I was like inside.
I think you were inside, because it was like Mona, Audrey, Robin. I think you were there on the couch, maybe. I don't remember.
I think I was like upstairs.
Or yeah, because there was the upstairs. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, like that first night, I remember like he went into a room, because he was kind of like wandering by himself, and then I'm pretty sure it was either Jules or Keaton, which is funny watching it back, but like I thought Keaton was like, oh, like rumor has it like JP found a card or he's looking for a card. So like that's what I heard night 0. That's why even going into the first challenge, people are already skeptic.
Right.
Interesting.
I didn't know about like him
JP, poor baby.
But
yeah, it's difficult, because like I know, Lana, you talked about like your anxiety. I'm someone that like, I'm an extrovert at heart, but like I've dealt with social anxiety for years. So like as much as I would love to play like Big Brother or Survivor or one of these games, like even one of these like YouTube reality games, I don't know how I would react either. And so I really felt for him in this moment because like I very much would also be the kind of person to be like, I just need to take a step away, breathe for a second, calm myself down, if allowed, get a little bit of the weed inside me, and then I'm chilling. But like in some circumstances, A, that's just like not possible. And B, like it's gonna look weird if you go off by yourself.
Super shady.
Right.
So at least I wish he had been able to like verbalize this to someone at some point.
Yeah. And I think with him, he didn't verbalize it to enough people. I feel like he definitely like he opened up to a few people, but it's like the people he opened up to were all on the bottom. So but yeah, I definitely agree with you with that because like I was only in for like chronologically, I was only in for like half a day of filming. But like first thing that happened, like they filmed the first 3 rounds in the first day, like 24 hours.
Oh geez.
And yeah, as soon as I was voted out in the pre-jury house, like I just kind of like went by myself, went into my room, and just kind of had to like chill. And like even after the game, when like the whole game was over, and because we were there for like 2 days, 2 full days after filming, because we like filmed confessionals and everything. Like the day after we were done. Also, yeah, I don't know if you knew that, but like we filmed all the confessionals like at once. So like they weren't. That
doesn't surprise me.
They weren't like in real time. So like
it makes sense.
They told us they went round by round with each person. Like I remember like as people that like got farther in the game, their confessionals were filmed like they took like 3 hours to film, but mine took like an hour. But yeah, after the game, I had to just step
decompress.
away.
You do.
It was very overwhelming, and it's like because like you have to be on the whole time.
Yeah. I mean, even in situations like that, like even in I know in a game situation, yeah, you have to watch what you do and watch what you say and mind who you're around and who you talk to, blah, blah. But like even in social situations, it's like when it's over, I don't know, like Tajja saw me when we went to Florida. It was moments where it was a lot of people around and it was like, I love all these people. I love everybody. I want to hang around them. But at some point, it was like, give me about an hour. I went upstairs to my room, closed the door, so I can just spend that moment to just chill because it gets overwhelming to have all of those personalities at you all the time. It's not a disrespect.
Our cast.
Yes, y'all had a lot of personality.
Personality. Yes.
Yeah. So when you have those type of personalities and they're all vying for attention and vying for the same prize, it can get overwhelming. So I get it. I understood it. And I understand the moments of decompression because you have to do that. And so, but like you said, I feel like it was a little too late for JP to explain that to everybody or to people. If he didn't feel comfortable telling everybody, he needed to tell at least a few people early on that was what he was doing, so they can spread it for him. Like, oh no, don't worry about it.
JP's like who has influence. Go to
right. I would have told who was in charge.
I would have told Nick.
I would have told Nick.
I would have told Nick.
Nick, Edmund, Robin.
Period. Nick, Edmund. Laura. And like a Matt.
Laura.
I would have told a Matt, I would have told a Nick, I would have told a Robin, and I would have told a Zena. You tell those 4 people.
It's going
and that's all you need to tell. It was spread out. And so I feel like that was the downfall of JP. Like he could have been very much being honest about needing to decompress and true and honest. And I understand it. But in this situation, you're still playing a game. And he should have told more people because now it just looks like you're just trying to get sympathy to stay. Right. It doesn't look genuine.
Even if it
was
true, it's like at that point people are in game mode. So it's like they can use anything.
Their game is and Zena even said it. Zena was like, after Zena held court, let's talk about Zena holding court on the white couch. We discussed that. Zena was like, look, boys, we need to talk because if this alliance is going to work, we need to make it work properly. And I was like,
yes,
Zena, you
okay,
transitioning. transitioning to move on, like, so did you have, Logan, any other big points before the vote?
Before the vote, no. It was the other big thing I was going to bring up was just, and I touched on it briefly before I became Lana and left for a few seconds. Was just the alliance between Jada, Mona, Phaedra, and Audrey, because that comes full circle in this set of episodes that we're talking about. But they made an alliance. That's all.
I don't know about y'all, but that alliance was made, and I didn't feel it. Like, I didn't believe it for a second that it was gonna last. I didn't believe it.
Mona even said it was a side alliance,
right?
Like, so many people had side alliances, and like that was so interesting because, like, yeah, that's like I wasn't in at that point. Like, I was just eliminated, and I felt like that was the first point that you got to see, at least in the edit. Like, people like saying like, okay,
the first like confirmed alliance.
Yeah, like this is our 4,
genuinely,
okay, this is our 3 or whatever. I always look back, I'm like, when JP walked through the door after he was voted out, I was like, y'all just voted JP out anyways. I should have stayed.
Exactly.
Because honestly, if you swap you for JP in that bottom 4,
I could have manipulated.
Audrey would have gone. Audrey would have gone.
I could have convinced people to vote for Audrey. I know I could have.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Oh,
yeah, because people were behind Phaedra at that point. And it's like I knew she wasn't gonna go home because like she had like many connections, so like one-on-one, a lot of one-on-one connections. She didn't have like many strong like groups, but like I felt like all her individual alliances would keep her safe. And I knew that I would also do the same. And
it happens. Like it happens. It's the crappy part about playing games like this is just like, because I've been a first boot more times than I would like to admit, and I've been an early boot more times than I'd like to admit. And that's just the difficulty, is like someone has to be first, someone has to be second, someone has to be third. Like,
and I always
people have to go early.
Yeah, and to make myself feel better, it's like literally any little thing could have changed the entire game. It's like if Phaedra would have won that first challenge, I would have been I would have been not in the bottom 5. And that could have set my game to where I'm not in the bottom 5 consistently. Or
if you guys were like actually sequestered, or if you guys all had the same living quarters. There's so many different variables.
So many things. And my one thing is like, because like I talked to Phaedra before we even went down for the balloon challenge. She's like, I don't want to win. I don't want to win. Like, I don't want to be the target. So I knew when it got to those two, I was like, oh, Laurel's winning because she's like, Phaedra's gonna throw it. And I told her after, I was like, girl, why did you not? Like, you should have just won it. It was down to you two.
Right.
But,
and even if she had, I still don't think Phaedra would have been a big target, like at this point that we're seeing.
Obviously not, because Laurel managed to be first VIP and literally has easily skated by up until this point. Nobody has even considered putting up Laurel in the bottom. And so I don't think the first VIP would have been that thing. Like, as we've seen even in Big Brother recently, the first HOH is like king or queen, lately king, because it's like everybody makes those deals with them at the beginning. That's also a connection builder, and that's a bonding moment.
Yeah.
So
because Laurel and kind of left out, like Laurel put Edmund higher in the top in her ranking, so he's going to do the same for her. So she was safe round 2. She was in the guest list round 2, and then I don't know why Laurel.
Like, literally, Laurel wasn't eligible to be eliminated at all in what we've seen so far.
Yeah. Like nobody's saying her name for anything.
She also is very she was very, very strategic, and she was very vocal about it, and she like had a strong presence. And I think for like the quieter players, it's like no one really wanted to go against her.
That's fair.
Which is why she reminds me so much of me. Like when the first started coming out, I'm like, I don't know if I really
remember
like this girl,
that. I remember that.
But that's how I would put. That's me right there.
That's the thing. It's like, and I talked to her, and you saw in the edit. She was like, yeah, like I did not want to put you there, and like in the bottom, especially that first round, which I believed her. I was like, yeah, like if I was VIP, it's like there would be people in the bottom 5 that I like didn't have a reason for. So, and I knew that like as the game went on, when I was still in it, I was like, I know that she has power. I know that she likes me. So, I know that like if I was like, for example, like if we switched me and JP, I would have went and talked to her, be like, hey girl, like what's going on? Like, who are we thinking? Things like that. But then JP walks through the door. I'm like, oh my gosh.
He sure did. So we lose JP, but not before this tie. Now, so we're in part 2 of this Act 8 episode, which needed to be its own part for some reason. And the editing here, Banishment, we love you, but this editing here was incredibly confusing because at one point I'm like, who is this tie even between?
Right.
Ultimately, we realized it's a tie between JP, Audrey, and Phaedra because the trio of Robin, Julia, and Nathan end up forcing a tie. Which is wild.
The power.
Wild.
I really enjoyed watching the shifting. I'm enjoying watching the shifting of power slowly but surely shifting, even within like smaller groups like Robin, Julia, Nathan. Their voting block is making things happen. And
if you would have said, they said that like I would have been, because I had individual relationships with Robin, Nate, and Julia.
They wanted you as the 4th. They wanted you as the 4th. I was like,
and they told me that after, and you will see.
I was hoping when they said, I was like, oh, that's perfect. You got Nate, Robin, Julia, and Kyle will make the perfect 4 corners of that trio or quad, and each of them can go out and spread and figure out what's going on without detecting that that's what they're doing. I was living. I wanted that to happen, but then I was like,
I felt like all 4 of us were similar players in the way that like we were all social strategic. Like
but in such different ways too.
Right, like we weren't super out there and like running around, but like we could make like individual connections. Like we weren't going to be the ones like grouping everyone together, like being like us 7 are an alliance, but like we could make those little ones.
I mean, but it's so cool because like the way that all 4 of you played, which was so different from each other, but one similar thing that all of you all did, except Nathan. Nathan was definitely not this, but all of you had that quiet kind of power that was like people wanted to work with you. You drew them in. They wanted to, like people wanted to work with you, Kyle. They wanted to play with you, but it was like the connections just weren't strong enough to put you at the top of mine.
I wasn't connected with the louder
powers that be, right?
Like the louder players, and that's the thing. I felt like early on in the game, which I'm excited for you guys to see the rest of the game play out. Early on in the game, it's like those louder players kind of intimidated a lot of people, and like they didn't want to go against them. So that's why the rankings were very similar the first few rounds.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
After JP's exit,
what?
I was just saying from my perspective.
Okay. So JP
everything is from Kyle's perspective. Everyone, please just note. This is not Kyle saying he knows all. This is just Kyle's perspective.
I wasn't in the game that long, so it's like take everything.
But yes, JP is out, and we do get this. I want to touch on this emotional moment from Keaton because this did, like, because I know so many people who can resonate with this, myself included, where he discusses how his mom passed when he was young from leukemia, and how he grew up watching these shows that can't be named, but I love that they're always referenced. Like, you can't say Big Brother or Survivor, but they're always referenced, and it's my favorite part about this whole editing. And then we see Keaton find his advantage card, and oh boy, that comes into play a little later.
I feel like I'm talking too much, but I gotta jump in. But like when at first I had to watch that part like a couple of times because at first when I watched it, I was like, I don't get it. It just seemed maybe it was the editing, maybe it just seemed to come out of the blue of the emotional moment for Keaton. Now, not that I didn't get the story. I got the story. He lost his mom. That's very much, and she was a big reason why he watched reality TV. I get it, but it was like he was at first talking about he didn't want to see JP go. Him and JP had this tight bond, and it was just like, oh, like why are we crying over somebody you met a half a day ago? Like,
and now, given the context that we have, that all of these confessionals are filmed
afterwards, it just does now. It doesn't even now. For now, since we know that, it's like, why is like it's very dramatic for.
I think he was just going through a lot of emotions throughout the entire game.
And that's what I said. The second time I watched it through, I was like, okay. I could understand being in the moment, having somebody in your alliance very close have to leave, and you tried to do everything to stop it because Keaton was putting in the work to keep JP. He was putting
especially I guess we can talk about it since he's been eliminated, is that even when we saw, because he was the first person on the jury, because us pre-jury, we were not allowed to talk to the jury people once they were eliminated. Like they were in a whole separate house. Like when they got eliminated, they were in a separate house, so we couldn't talk to them. But like we got in like in a passing moment between Keaton, and Keaton was like, guys, I wish so much that like I was in the jury house and the pre-jury house with you guys. And like I think because like he was one of the people that was originally in the other house that like reached out and liked the pre-jury house. And like all of us were leaving, and he was like kind of like left alone. And I think that's why. And yes, him and JP connected, but like was kind of like sad as each one of us kind of left.
Yeah, it was just a very emotional moment, but I feel like it just came out of nowhere. And then now, like you said, with the context that we have now, that all the confessions were done 2 days after, or a day like after the show was over and everything was recorded, and it's like.
reliving it,
and it was still that deep. Like after going through, like in the moment, yes, I'll be like, oh, in this moment, if you recorded me right after it happened, the tears will flow. But if I had time to process everything, see what's happening, you wasn't getting that. But kudos to Penthouse for pulling out that emotion and having that moment, because every TV show wants a dramatic moment. And you got it. And it was a lovely moment for Keaton that he was able to tell his story. I felt I understood it. Lost my parents too, so I understood it. And so it's like I know that feeling. I know that hard emotion thing to deal with. So I get it. But the first time I watched it, I was like, that seems out of the blue. But then now it's like, okay, I get it. I understand.
Yeah, and I think, without revealing anything, I think like you'll see like the whole second half of the game was very dramatic, but like very emotional for a lot of people. And you'll see at the reunion. I
mean, I get that. I love that.
Everyone was very, very, very drained at the end. So filming was done, I think like Sunday night, like everything was done. And then Monday morning, I think my confessional was like at 7 a.m.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely
because I know Jules went at like 6 a.m.
Absolutely not.
She was like right before me. Because I remember her getting up and she's doing her hair at like 5 a.m. I'm like, girl, I'm glad I'm not at least going after you. But I think because everyone was so drained that like once we had to like kind of talk about it again and bring it all back and like kind of like summarize and go back through each round. It's like that's probably where like the emotions came up and kind of having to talk about it. especially after knowing the entire outcome and with all the emotions.
Mm. Yeah. I get it. It's a lot, and the emotion stuff that happens late now, like you said, late game. I'll totally understand it because even playing in little games, the emotion once you hit that jury phase in every game you play is like a switch is clicked, and the game intensifies no matter what game it is. It's like. Now it's time to play. This is where it is. I see the finish line, so now I gotta kick it in the high gear.
I've cried after winning a comp that guaranteed my safety when I knew I was going home otherwise. Like that's fully a thing that's happened.
It can get emotional.
Well, and I'm not a super like outwardly emotional as far as like negative emotions. I'm not like outwardly emotional in that regard. Like I don't cry very often, and so like. I can even like doing one of these in person. I would just be a wreck the whole time. Like it just would not be cute. But
was this funny you mentioned this? I think the only time I outwardly like showed emotion for being out of a game that I thought I was out, but I was saved. Tajja was the one that made it happen, and I was like, wait, and rolling.
I'm also rolling.
Yes, Tajja made a move that was absolutely. Completely brilliant. We were partners in the game, and I should have been done. Like the game was over for me. I did my part. Tajja came in and was killing it in the second half, and I'm like, that's it. She's taking this, and absolutely had no reason to bring me back into this game. And I was like, it is what it is. I played what I could do, what I could do, and the move she made not only secured her safety. Brought me back in the game and kicked out one of our toughest opponents. And then we was final 2. Like, what?
That's how you use. I used 2 powers, and I went
2.
Boop, 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 boop.
2.
And I would do it again, and I would lose to Lana again.
I thought in that moment, I was like, Tajja should win this game 100%. There's no reason I should ever win this game, but I won. I was shocked, but. It was like, but in that moment, it was so emotional. Like, oh my God, I should have been dead in the water. But
and mind you, Lana and I didn't really know each other like that.
Nope.
Like, I was like, I don't know this person like this. Oh my God.
Never. Me and Tajja never met each other. So it was like,
wow, okay.
Crazy. But from that point on,
and I just knew. And I cried on Lana's shoulders. I've been like,
I'm waiting for that moment. I'm waiting for that moment. Like it'll happen, but I'm waiting for that moment.
To cry on my shoulder, Logan.
Yes, of course.
When we meet,
they're good shoulders.
There's gonna be tears, guaranteed, with both of y'all. Kyle, you too. I'll be like, that's Dave.
I was like, right, you can't be around me without seeing me cry, and I'm an ugly crier. Just by the vibe.
Oh no.
You guys will all be on season 5. I'll be a returnee player.
Tag!
Do we see this Final 4 happening?
We're making lines right now.
I will gladly be 4th to the 3 of y'all. Gladly.
Logan, edit this part out.
This is the one time you're gonna edit the show because when we all apply for season 5, don't say anything.
Oh my goodness. Well, we move from intense emotions of sadness and grief to emotions of what the fuck is happening. And Tajja, you specifically, I would like to hear your thoughts on the start of round 3, bag tag. What the fuck was happening?
What the?
Out of the blue. I see people rolling, and I'm like, but look, I will say one thing. I was with Phaedra. You ain't gonna see me running around out of breath, hot, bothered, wig slipping off, makeup running down my face for some tags.
PG. Okay, hold on. I ain't pulled my cup out yet, but I am not.
What confused me is maybe I fell asleep during this one. I don't know. Someone won VIP, right? Like where
Nathan won VIP.
Which means he's the top who gets to choose, right?
He's like
and then someone won
an advantage.
Mona won an advantage.
What were they collecting the tags for?
Okay, so here's my understanding of the comp because I watched season 3, so I understand this comp a little bit. So there's multiple rounds. rounds, which they didn't show really at all.
Didn't show anything.
So in each round, you have to find
intro the challenge.
Yeah, there's no intro to the challenge. I'm like,
Josh,
you couldn't have recorded some voiceover,
something.
I'd have done it. I'm like, okay, so we're back, bitches. Everybody's running around.
It's round 3.
Find tags
it's round
3 and some other shit.
There's no voiceover.
It was,
and I'm like,
wait. I thought I was like, did I miss something? Did I miss the episode? I went back and I was like, no, this is where it just kicks in with running around looking for tags. I'm like, what tags are they looking for? What is this?
It's basically the way I've seen it. And Penthouse people, please comment. For the love of God, please comment about this specifically, if not anything else, because we need some clarification. But what I think happened is in each round, it's basically like a hide and go veto from Big Brother, but like on steroids. So there's a ton of tags hidden throughout the house. And each round, you have to go find a certain number of tags to stay in the competition. And so it's tiered like that. We end up with what we see most of the final round, which has a final 4 of Nathan, Audrey, Laurel, and Mona. And you see them running around, but the last round, there's no tags to find. Instead, you're finding the VIP, the advantage that's out there, and the exposed card. And we see all of that happen. So we see Nathan win VIP. Come on, bestie. We get Mona finding the advantage, and we know that Laurel now has an exposed card. So
yeah,
that's what we know.
Yeah, how the challenge, from my understanding as well, is that there's multiple rounds, and it's like your goal is to not have the least amount of tags and not be the last one out of the house. So like you had to grab all your tags and then run out onto the deck.
Okay.
So like,
but
I think
you see, Kyle explained that in literally 10 seconds.
That would have took up too much camera time, too much.
You could have put.
They had you in the pre-jury house. They should have had you do the voiceover.
You're on freaking YouTube. You could take longer than 18 minutes to put an episode out there. You could put an episode for 25 minutes instead of 20 minutes. Like, give us
multiple rounds, and I think 2 people got eliminated each round of not getting the least amount of tags, and then being the last one out on the deck, and then it got down to the 4, and then like Logan said, the VIP exposed and then the advantage.
That's so like,
which don't get wrong, we're so thankful, management. Once again, we'll say we're so thankful.
Yes.
But like, it would have been nice to see gameplay. Like, I know someone had said they took a note out of Shane's. Was it Shane?
They were giving people tags to like kind of support them.
For us to see like, oh, this person's really smart for doing that, because you're like you're making sure, hey, this person, and I don't know.
Yeah, like I was very confused as Julia was saying that she was going to give tags because she'd seen this game before and she was going to give tags.
Which I think they put like a little clip of her when she said it in a
that's episode, but she said it and I heard her say it and I'm like, but what are you talking about? Because I didn't understand. I didn't know what they were talking about. So I'm like, what is she giving the tags away for? What is the purpose of the tags? Who is she giving the tags to?
Season 3, they'll have no idea what the
exact. I have no idea what you're talking about. So I'm like, I didn't watch all of season 3. I watched some of season 3, so I had no idea what this bag challenge was. And I'm like, are there like I had no idea about the tiers and multiple times. They were running the house, find tags, and run out. I didn't know any of that, so it was very confusing to watch it. Like you said, banishment. Appreciate you for doing it, but give us a little bit more. So we know what's happening. We just didn't know. It just didn't make sense of why they were running around the house. But I agree with you, Tajja. I would have been like, Phaedra, you know me. I'm not running. I ain't running around nobody's house looking for nothing.
I would have, because if I survived from that last.
Oh yeah, you would have. Yeah,
you would have.
Then I'm gonna run around that house. And ironically, Nate wins VIP, and I know I would have been saved.
Yep,
you would have been.
Yes.
I mean, but like, if you feel safe, if you feel like you're in danger, run. You better run. You better do what you gotta do. Phaedra obviously didn't feel like she was in danger because she had the connections that she needed. But she still ended up in the bottom, but she still wasn't going nowhere because the connections she made sure of that she wasn't going anywhere.
I think she was very similar like once I left, she was very similar to like me, where it's like nobody really wanted her in the bottom, but like because she didn't have as strong connections with other people, she kind of just ended there.
But she was never, at least in like this, at least in this chunk that we've seen, like I would go as far to say, from what we've seen so far up until the end of round 4, I would go as far to say that I think Phaedra's in the best position. Because yes, she's ending up in the bottom a lot, but no one's ever saying her name. Except for that one time when they forced a tie at the end of round 2.
Yeah.
Like otherwise, like everyone's like, oh yeah, Phaedra, she's cool. And that's very similar to you, Kyle, before you went out. Like, oh, Kyle's cool. Sure.
I wanted to play the game that Phaedra played. And again, ironically, Phaedra was probably my number 1.
I was gonna ask that at one point because obviously we didn't see a lot of your game. Crying emoji. But I was gonna ask who your number 1, because it seemed like it was Phaedra. It seemed like it also maybe could have been Nathan at one point, but
yeah, I would say Phaedra because she was like the first person that I met other than like Robin and Keaton on the ride from the airport. Like we were sitting on the couch when they were like, okay, and go. And we just turned to each other and like we connected night 0. Really liked her just because like she was like chill and not like super like and then I bonded with Nate because like when we talked when he was in danger and he was like you know like I like got your back and like he was very like felt genuine and convincing and let me think. I would say at that point I'm trying to think because like I made so many connections like afterwards, like at the point in the game, like who was I close with? But me and Phaedra, we were definitely like probably number 1s. Oh yeah, I connected with Robin. Like I knew that. That's the thing. It's like me, Robin, Julia, and Nate would all work together, and then like each of us has a couple other people.
Okay. So I done brought out my cup because I'm gonna take the flip side of this, and I want some tea because this is the cup, and we piping hot tea. So since we know who you were connected with,
oh no,
angrily, I want to know like was it somebody who you just didn't feel was genuine from the start that kind of was like, I'm not sure about this person. It's not saying you don't like them now. It's just in that moment in the game, it's like they talk to you and you talk to them, and it's like I'm not getting a good vibe from this person.
And we're pulling a Robin. You have to say a name. No,
I would say you have to say a name, or we're taking you off the podcast. No,
it's so hard because like honestly, like there are some people that like I probably talked to for like 5 seconds because like I wasn't there that long. And like strategy wise, like when you see like before a vote, like we have like 10 to 15 minutes to talk. So it's like we don't have a lot of time. So it's like I didn't talk to a whole lot of people like strategy wise or anything. I think not because I didn't get bad vibes, but like I was like very intimidated of like Edmund and Mona. And I feel like I would have been intimidated of Laurel if she didn't talk to me after she put me in the bottom 5. Just because they were like the very intense players, like just like super out there and like talking to everybody and seemed like that they had influence. So I would say like they intimidated me like in the beginning. So, but it sucks because like they were the people that had influence. So
right.
Yep. I have a question because I have a cup as well. So you said that you and Phaedra played like a pretty similar game, right? Would you say that?
Yeah.
Okay, so was she really as social and as like?
So I think she was similar to me where it's like maybe we weren't in every conversation, but like we were very, very likable. And like nobody, I probably like disliked us. Where it's like there are probably other people in the cast who are like, I don't like them, or like I don't like them, or like they give me a bad vibe. And like she always had like the outfits. That was one thing. Like every outfit changed. Like she was always super hyped up from her outfits, and she was just always very likable. And like kind of like you said, like she wasn't super vocal being strategic, so like she was very social in the sense of just making genuine connections with people.
Okay, because I just didn't know if, you know, pretty like white girls get kind of far, batting eyelashes, not giving much. I didn't know if it was that or if she actually did make like genuine bonds or like the conversations, because like the editing
is not like, doing her no justice.
It's not giving it. It's giving like blinks twice, has a cute outfit. I want to save her. Yeah,
she definitely has a personality of like, I look good, my hair looks good, my nails look good, kind of like you guys were saying. But like, if you like actually like talk to her, like if she likes you, like you'll know it. If she like trusts you, you'll know it, because like she was very like straightforward, and I think that's what people liked about her, because she was never perceived as like sneaky or like a snake, because like she was super honest and like very genuine and like just likable.
Okay,
and you'll see the game.
We talked about that, because we were like, the edit that we're getting off of Phaedra is more of a it's just right. It's not giving what I wanted it to give, but it's giving the whole I'm cute, my hair's cute, my nails are done, I look good, and that's all I'm worried about. I'm not worried about none of this. But then so many people, she's making those connections, so you see that it has to be something more, but we're not seeing what more is. It's just like
and if you think about it, like with Survivor, like with like pretty girls like Parvati and Amanda, like they bat their eyes, they flirt, they know they look good, and like they're likable, but they're smart,
right?
They know what they're doing.
Okay. Which I mean, they edit them and they show them, but we don't get that. Like when the promo first came out, I was like, "Yo, Phaedra is gonna be the female villain I have been waiting for."
Yes,
I love female villains. Like, you know, a lot of people said like Vanessa was a female villain. A lot of people were trying to like villainize Tiffany Mitchell, and like even Sarah Beth, annoying little self. I'm like, you know what? She took out America's Sweetheart, Derek X. I was like, okay. So I was waiting for that. And then, like, the editing was very like, I don't know.
I mean, I don't know what the edit's gonna look like for the future, but like just from like
banishment, you hear that shit
from like what happened. Like, I think the villain changes multiple times, power shifts left and right, like because of who wins VIPs, which is like super exciting. Yeah, so I'm excited to watch it all play out, because like the boot order from now until the end is wild.
Period. I wish Phaedra was getting a similar like, because right now Laurel, she's giving me like the chaotic like kind of villain-ish, and I live for it. I just wish like Phaedra could get like a little light on that too, but we'll see in the future.
Laurel for me right now is the definition of chaotic lawful. Like, that's exactly what she gives me in, like, the best possible way. And I don't mean that as a bad thing. Like, I think Laurel is clearly playing a very good game. She literally, there has not been a single opportunity from what we have seen thus far that Laurel could be up for elimination.
Not right as of yet. Yeah, no.
Yeah, like in the 4 rounds that we've seen, she's had no, because she's 1-2, and then in this ranking, Nathan ends up putting Mona and Laurel on his guest list, because we do find out, we lost a guest list chair. Oh no. Chair.
It's so easy for us to like get off course. Let's go back to Nathan winning. It's so easy for us to like
I'm trying to find moments where I'm like, yes, I'm gonna get us back on track. Not that
No, but yeah, Nathan wins the VIP after that chaotic round of bag tag, fine, whatever, and whatever that's called, nonsense that we didn't know what it was. But he finds the VIP and he makes his order. Now, this is what was interesting to me. Okay, and this is just me. He publicly, well, in his confessionals or whatever, they knew they had this alliance that he was building up between him, Robin, Julia. They were the A alliance. They would go do this. They would go run this. And then I guess you don't want to put them in your guest list because you don't want to put a target on their back. I get it. But I'm kind of like, at least one of them, I think, should have been in the guest list so you can definitely keep them safe from any foolery that might happen. That's just at least
one. Guest list. Was it Nick and Laurel?
It was Mona and Laurel.
Laurel.
The reason why they all say, like, because the final four in the comp, I wrote this down specifically because it ended up being a thing. The four of them agree that, like, they're gonna tell who gets the VIP, who gets the advantage, who gets the exposed card. So all four of them know, like, who has what, and they agreed to put each other in the guest list because at that point they hadn't realized that there wasn't going to be, like, if there had still been 3 seats in the guest list, Audrey would have been in the guest list for round 3, presumably. Because Mona and Laurel were also in that competition. And so Audrey would have had that third chair. So it made a little bit of sense. Nathan being a little bit selfish in this moment, I understood it because they had made that. We end up seeing Robin ends up being placed 6th and Julia 8th. So obviously they're still safe. But I think that was another example of people trying to mask their alliances as much as they possibly can.
I get it. I forgot about that.
And kind of looking at who are the influential players and the kind of early on powerful players. It was just a coincidence that like Mona and Laurel were in the final 4 of the challenge, but like they probably would have been placed towards the top. Like if I was named, because it's like at that point it's like looking at them, who's in control, and kind of like tailoring.
Because I remember once you said it, Logan, about the arrangement. I do remember them making that arrangement, so I get it. It makes sense now, but I'm still like, ooh.
No, I would have maybe even put them like 5th and 7th. Like if you're gonna put Audrey 4th still, like maybe like put them a little higher.
Was she 3rd?
Audrey was 4th.
So 4th because he was first. Wait, I keep forgetting the VIP counts as first.
So Nathan first, then Mona and Laurel.
And then Laurel. And then Audrey.
4th was Audrey. Right. Then Edmund, Robin, Zena, Julia, and Nick. With the bottom 5 with the bottom 5 being, words are hard. The bottom 5 was Jada, Matt, Keaton, Phaedra, and John. At that point, we find out that Kyle and JP pick Keaton as the switch. And I mean, we saw most of the explanation behind that. It made a lot of logical sense from what y'all were talking about. I don't know if there was anything we didn't see in that regard, but
no, we discussed it beforehand, and they pulled us aside, and then we kind of like reenacted. Like,
oh no! I love that.
So that might have been an axe, but
what?
I know I'm gonna
not the scripted.
Not the scripted, but
not the scripted.
It's like I personally probably would have given the switch to Phaedra or who else? But I knew like JP really wanted Keaton, and he had a good reason to have him as the switch. So I was like, okay, I'll do whatever.
Yeah. So,
but if it was up to you, it would have been Phaedra.
Probably just because like she was in the bottom my round, and kind of like the same reason why she ended up being the switch in round 3.
That's so interesting. Like I do like.
You gotta think of like who will probably be in the bottom. If one of your people that you liked are most likely going to be in the bottom, give it to them. But then you also got to think, oh, do you want to give them that because it's like you want to give them that kind of like potential target of them switching somewhat. So it's like there's so many things to debate.
So Keaton gets to switch.
Yes, Keaton gets the switch.
Yeah,
He
he
switches.
switches.
Shocker of the century.
Shocker of the century. I didn't see this coming at all. I could not believe.
Truly caught off guard.
Gagged.
He switches with Audrey.
Oh my God.
Girl. And then, shocker of the century, John in the basement picks Matt as his defender. And I will say, okay, we've gotten to this point. Okay, so Matt is the defender. He picks a save card. We're not surprised by this in the slightest. And then we find out that the consequence is averages. And
were you guys fully understanding like the twist? Because
yes. Oh yeah. I remember they did this twist, I think, either on season 2 or season 3. I don't remember.
Like season 3.
And did you realize that Jada and Matt were tied?
Yes.
I didn't. I knew Matt was low, and I knew Julia was low.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize Jada was
that low either. That was a shocker to me because I was like,
I was
trying to think back, and I was like, why is Jada tied with Matt when Matt been at the bottom twice or 3 times?
With the twist from the round I got voted out, he was put second. or like right below the guest list. So that moved his average high.
Oh my God. Okay, I missed that. That was where
if that twist didn't happen, he'd be gone.
He would have been gone.
He was gone anyways, but like, yes, like they wouldn't have tied. But I was still like, Jada, like
I was gagged at Jada.
I was thinking about everyone else.
I was like, what?
So I was also thinking, okay, round 1, John was in the guest list, so even though he was in the bottom next 2 rounds, his average wouldn't be low. Same with Phaedra. Phaedra was in the guest list first round, so her average wasn't going to be low. I was looking at all the people that were in the bottom. Like, yeah, Matt was in the bottom twice, and then just grumbled. Somehow Jada tied with him.
Can I just say the gaggery of that moment when Matt saves John because John saved him, and the consequence.
And then he goes home.
The consequence of saving your boy since you ran out the door is like the biggest oof I've ever seen in my entire life.
And I mean, we'll talk about it. People saw in round 4, I think. Yeah, round 4. It's like, I don't know if we want to be picking these saves anymore.
I would never. I'm like, especially when 3 people pick save. I'm like, we're gonna have to start picking these powers.
So at the point that Matt chooses his save card, there were 3 save cards, and I think 5 or 6, because no power cards have been picked until round 4. We'll talk about
we'll talk about that. But at this point, no powers. Foolishness. Because I'm like, we gonna keep saving everybody. Somebody is gonna get screwed by this. And
what?
Dummies.
Like, dummies. We're gonna keep getting screwed by this. But like, I mean, I get Jules saving JP because that's first early. Ain't nobody really tripping about that. That was early.
I think the reason why people were saving in the beginning is because like all of us that were on the bottom were like each other's
allies or people we want to keep. It's sickening. But like John saving Matt, it's like, okay, we saw that coming a mile away. Matt saving John, okay, we saw that coming. But the screw job of Matt leaving because he saved your boy was like, what?
I call it karma for him sending me home.
It's kind of like a sacrifice.
Let's see. It is a sacrifice. It's the sacrifice that you made. You did it. Bye. Sorry, Matt. Love you. We love you here on Cup, but you did what you did, and it cost you. And since you right on out the door, the bromance was real. It was strong. I love to see it. Sort of.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
so then
I don't really
Matt leaves, and then there's still a vote, right?
It's still a vote.
There's still a vote between
And John is still in the bottom.
John, Jada. Is Jada?
John, Jada, Phaedra, and Audrey.
Yep, that's the bottom 4 going into Act 10.
Yeah, and so we jump right back into everybody running around. Let's save, please save me, please save me. I want to stay. I don't want to go. I'm doing
I'll
this.
do
I'm a
this.
shield.
I'll do this. I got
I'll
you
do
next
this
time.
for you. I'm a shield for you.
Well, that was all chaos, especially after seeing the vote was for
5 to 4 to 4.
5 to 4 to 4. Yeah. It was crazy. And it was between John. Should we do John? Should we do Audrey? Poor Audrey can't catch a break because Audrey's name is always up in the air and always out there.
Yeah, after I was eliminated, from my perspective, I was like, why is Audrey like? Because like my perspective of Audrey, like I thought she was like super like likable because she was hilarious. She was like super funny.
Oh yeah, we've had her on. Go check out our Dragula review with Audrey. It'll be linked.
I think it was just like a steamroll waiting to happen because it's like it was like, oh, JP's always gonna be in the bottom. Kyle, Audrey. It was just like Keaton. And it's just like okay.
Phaedra.
But I mean, like,
it's like
unless you win, you really can't do anything about it. You know what I mean?
Is
But it's just kind of getting almost like
challenge.
This is what just like tripped me out also. Like I for me, I was very much like, why are people so obsessed with Audrey? Keaton was going for Audrey. Nick could not stop talking about Audrey. I'm like, oh, everybody wants to get an Audrey. I'm like, what did she do? Did she kick your dog or something? What did she do to you?
I think she, out of the people, because it was John, Phaedra, Jada, and Audrey.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think out of those 4, she was the most social strategic player. And I think people started seeing that as the game started going on. Because like Jada wasn't really talking a whole lot of strategy. Like she kind of kept to her people. I don't know what John was doing.
East Coast.
John was scratching his ass. And
yeah, the East
Coast.
Bro.
Come
on, bro.
Bro, we got this.
And yeah, and Phaedra wasn't a target at that point.
I mean, it's just like people. I really didn't want to hear Nick say Audrey's name no more. Like I was sick and tired.
I'm like,
tired. Like just we know who you want. It was too much. I was like,
I will say I do understand Nick's, targeting of Audrey only because from his perspective at that point in the game, Audrey was playing the most similar game to what he was trying to play.
Mm-hmm.
And so by getting rid of that other person who has a similar sort of, and honestly, Kyle, I think you getting eliminated when you did has kind of, at least in what we've seen, propelled Phaedra a little bit more forward. Because y'all were in similar positions at that point. And I think Nick and Audrey were also in very similar positions at that point. And by trying to target Audrey, and eventually we'll talk about it, getting Audrey out, it sort of clears this niche in the game for Nick to get carried some more. We'll talk about that.
We got to talk about that.
We'll get there. So
we have to talk about that.
Let's finish the 5-4-4. I will say my favorite part of this whole round is Robin walking upstairs, trying to get into a room that may or may not have been locked, and then just walking away, and they're like, fuck our drag, right? Best moment. Loved it. That is the entertainment I know from my friend Robin. That's the Robin I know. Then the whole reason we end up with this 5-4-4 vote is because at the end of the round, we see a group of Nathan, Audrey, Nick, and Robin discussing, should we vote out John? Should we not vote out John? John's a big threat. We can keep John around. John's always going to be the threat. And then Robin and Xena end up talking about flipping their votes to vote out someone. It ends up.
Don't want to vote out John.
Yeah.
No. Neither one of them did, and neither one of them ended up voting out John. Because this is the first vote. We know where everyone voted. Because thank you, confessionals. We know where everyone voted. And that's
we appreciate that.
Yes,
I really did.
So it did end up with a 5-4 vote, with John being eliminated in this round. We know that the votes to eliminate John were from Audrey, Phaedra, Jada, Nick, and Edmund, with the votes on Jada coming from Julia, Xena, Mona, and John. And that gets brought up later in a few episodes. We'll talk about that as well. Random flashbacks. And then the votes on Audrey were Nathan, Laurel, Robin, and Keaton.
Mm-hmm. So John's gone.
We were gagged when John walked into the pre-jury house. We knew it.
I bet.
We knew John was following Matt because they were a duo. And I'm like, if Xena can pull something and save John, but it's like at that point she was outnumbered.
Yeah. And the only other thing we see in this episode before we move on to, episode 11, we find out what Keaton's advantage was that he got at the end of the previous episode, and it is basically a full round exposed card in private. So he uses it in this round and decides that he wants to know exactly where the votes were in this round, and then later reveals it to everyone.
I feel like Keaton just thought like, hey, I'm kind of like, I'm like a cat with 9 lives. I know I'm probably going to be out soon. Let me see about this so I can like maybe goop the girls and stay, or who knows what happens.
I mean, getting the information is one thing. He got the information. He knows where everybody's vote. I'm just like, if you're going to have that information and you're going to pop off and use that information as tea, you might want to remember the information that is given to you so you can use it as tea, and people
we will get to that
because secondhand embarrassment was all I felt in that moment. I was just like, oh. But we'll get to that.
It's a new round, right?
New round.
Round 4
challenge.
Yes.
Did
they tell us what was happening?
It's the battle back.
It's a battle back. Everybody's coming back, and we're gonna play this game of majority. Who says answer the question of majority? If you match with the people, you win points. If you don't, you don't. The people who's left in the game are trying to win VIP. The eliminated players are trying to get back in the game. So we're gonna give you a list of from good to embarrassing questions and see what the housemates think about each other. We're gonna shake the table with this game.
Did they mention that the people still left in the game didn't know it was a battle back? They just thought that we were helping out with the challenge.
No, they did not say that.
They didn't know until they announced who won. Like that. Awesome. So everyone just thought that we were like part of the challenge, that like we were like, oh, you have to match some of the pre-jury people.
Good.
Surprise, like, bitches.
People right. We're not go. No transparency, huh? We're not gonna tell y'all.
If I would have won, I'd have been like, burst open the doors, like, bet you thought you seen the last of me. I would have done it. I'd have gagged. Ooh.
That's so funny, but no, we did not see that.
Because after we discuss this, I'm probably gonna have to head out.
Okay.
But before we get to the drama that happened in the challenge, I will say, literally that night. So like when John got eliminated, we were all sitting at the table talking for hours, just like analyzing the game. So like we were kind of like what Austin talks about later on, is like we were kind of just telling the game from our perspective. So we kind of had a good idea of where the game was at and how it got there. So like going into that challenge, because when we were waiting outside, I think they did like a little clip of us outside before we walk in. They told us what the challenge was. And I was like, and like I've seen this challenge before. Like I think I would be able to do pretty well at it. I think there was a total. They didn't show them all, but I think there was a total of like 25 questions.
Oh, geez.
That's a lot of questions.
And what was kind of confusing, for talk about the details of it, was that so it didn't really show. So it got down to Julia and Laurel. They didn't really show how that happened, why it was those two. Did you see how they were sitting kind of up front and not in the conversation? So it was like whoever had the most points at that point, I think, or they were tied, I think. It was Julia and Laurel. I think they were tied in points. So they were the only two that were playing at that point, like towards I think it was the last 5 questions.
Oh, okay.
We didn't I didn't realize that they, like you said, they were moving. It was different points. Like we didn't even know how many points anybody had. Like we had no clue who was in the lead, who was behind. You know,
and
like
Laurel won.
Right, Laurel wins, and Austin's coming back won. It was like.
I was kind of sad in the editing they didn't announce and the winner is Austin.
And I mean, I get it because of what happened with the whole situation and everything, and they probably couldn't edit around that, and then telling Josh he had to do all these voiceovers. That's a lot to tell, to do in such a small period of time. So I get it, but it's like at least put a text in on the screen, flash
something.
Well, you know what? Then we're gonna do it right now. The winner of we'll talk about the drama as well, but the winner of the pre-jury buyback coming back into the game, it's Bestie Austin. Yay!
Hey, Bestie.
Oh, I was so happy. I did too. I was so happy.
I mean, obviously, if Kyle couldn't come back.
Obviously, if Kyle couldn't come back, it had to be Austin.
I always said if I didn't win, I'm glad he did, because I think he was the one person out of the pre-jury that I think could have got back in and made a difference. So I feel like if Matt or John got back in, they would just go right back to Xena and kind of follow. And I don't know what
Jules. Same with JP or Jules.
I don't know what
revolving door.
JP would probably be at the same spot where he got.
I think it would have been a revolving door with, like you said, with JP or Jules, because neither one of them had the social capital to change anything.
But fun fact, so there was 20 something questions. Austin got every single one correct. And I got one wrong.
No, Bestie.
Because I went up to Shane afterwards, and I was like, "Don't tell me, was I one off from winning?" He's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh my god!" And really one wrong out of the 20 something questions. And what are the odds of Austin getting every single one correct?
Sick.
Honestly, that is a comp handwritten for Austin Ashburn. Honestly, and I know him pretty well, just outside of things. I've seen him play games. He's played a game that I've hosted. That is a tailor-made comp for Austin Ashburn. So as soon as I saw what it was, I was like, it'll probably be either you, Kyle, or Austin. I immediately was like, these are the two people that I think probably have the best gauge. Plus, Austin was first out. So he's been able to get the most, arguably, the most information coming out of all 5 of y'all. Coming out of it. But, yeah. If it wasn't you, I'm glad it was a homosexual at the very least.
Oh my gosh.
Very happy.
We will not do this to the straight people. I'm just saying.
We're doing it to the straight people here today.
As the straight person on this panel, I will say I will not have it. We will not do this to straight people, men or women.
As long as it's not a straight man.
I'm not going to do this to straight
one
men.
Of the bros. I mean, John and Matt are really nice to look at, though.
They're nice people. What we are not going to do is go.
I knew it was going to be down to me and Austin, and I kept looking over. I'm like, "Come on, Austin, get one wrong," because he was because I don't know if they explained this, but it's from us 5, we had a lot better chance of getting a point because
there were so many.
We only had to match one person, so if one person and the rest of the cast. I think the one question I got wrong was most strategic, and I put Nate, and nobody put Nate. So
I wouldn't have put Nate.
Didn't Nate put Nate? Hold on.
No, not on Nate.
No, he put most competitive. I wrote that down specifically.
Looking back on it, I know I should have put Edmund because that was a safe answer, but Edmund was getting a lot of the answers, so I'm like, I don't know. It was a weak moment.
And he does. I mean, the big moment, a lot of them are fairly obvious. We get some cute voiceovers and some cute confessionals. The big moment who's being carried, and John straight up writes that Nick is being carried by Edmund and Robin and has a deal with Nate. And I'm just like, the drama? Is he the drama? I don't think he's the drama.
And because I think John, because I talked to him afterward, he was like, yeah, I knew I wasn't going to win that challenge. So, because like he got like the first 5 wrong.
No.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
So he's like, I want to start some shit.
Sure. I mean, look, if I know I'm not winning nothing, I'm gonna make sure everybody remember my name before I leave out this door because I'm already pre-jury. So since I'm pre-jury and nobody gonna care about me once I'm gone, I'm gonna create the drama and I'm gonna get my 10 minutes.
Why with Nick? Why not with Nathan? Because he called Nathan a snake and all this. I'd have been like, yeah, Nathan, because blah 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 blah. I'm like, ha ha ha. But like.
I mean, him saying Nick was being carried by Edmund I think he knew that was going to cause drama. That was going to cause a lot of uproar. Anybody who said
Nick.
And that's the thing. Everybody put Nick because
he made specifics. I was like,
right. He named who he felt like he was being carried by. But see, this is the thing. And this is what I understand why Nick's reaction to that was like, what? I'm being carried. But the edit is showing Nick is doing some things in this game, but it's very social. And not saying social isn't strategic, but it's very much
not making moves.
Right. He's just literally keeping things safe. I'm giving you pep talks. I'm your shoulder to cry on when you need to. I'm here to make you laugh. But it's nothing game that people will see as game. Now it's a strategy. It's in his game. It's working for his game. But like people want to see moves, like you making deals and you doing this. And maybe it's the edit, maybe it's behind the scenes stuff that we don't see him doing, but it just looks like he's just the life of the party. It don't look like he's a game.
Yeah,
like Edmund is playing.
I think when we all thought of that question, we were like, okay, being carried. Meaning you can think of it one of 2 ways. Either like the goat, because Nick's not a goat.
No, he's not a goat.
Or looking, okay, who's a pair? And then who's the
sidekick of that pair?
The sidekick of the pair. And all of us, when we were thinking about it, it's like whether or not Edmund and Nick were a pair, which you'll see, we thought that the house, because John, the last person eliminated at that point, said like, oh, like Edmund and Nick are running the show or something like that. So we were like, oh, okay. But like you said, like Edmund was the one that was specifically being vocal about moves. And maybe just because he won VIP. But like also you saw it with Laurel. It's like as soon as you win VIP, you have some power, you have some pull. And then you like are perceived as someone that's out there.
Yeah, perception is key, and everybody perceives Edmund to be the leader, and so everybody also perceives Nick, who seems like they're close. And like I understood why they were annoyed by people thinking they know each other. Like I hate that assumption that people automatically assume that this person knows somebody, because
I don't know where that rumor came from or if it's true or not.
I have no idea where. We didn't hear it. We didn't see where it started. We didn't see who said it, but it was just like Edmund was like, well, people already assume we know each other because we Black and gay. And it was like, I've been in games where people do stuff like that, always assume you're working with somebody because you're similar to that person. It's like, I don't know this person.
And I've seen that specifically, like from my experiences talking with you, Lana, and with you, Tajja, like the assumption that specifically Black people are always working together in games, regardless of if you know each other or not. The same thing kind of happens. I've had that happen in games where like, oh, 2 very clearly gay people, like automatically because you're gay. And even in real life, people are like, oh, you're gay? Oh, you know each other. No. I mean, no, I may have seen you in passing on Grindr once, but I didn't like look at you. Like that's not a thing. And then to make it both intersectionalities, Black and gay, even worse.
I mean, it's crazy. I just played a game not too long ago where that happened to me, where this person assumed I was working with this other woman because she was a Black woman, and I was like, I don't really know her. I've never met her. I've never talked to her. It was people who in the game who I've literally played several games with. I knew way more, that you should have been more concerned about our connection than that connection. But because we were both women and we were Black women, that I was going to automatically work with her. And it was like, you're forcing us to work together now because you're putting us in that box.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking about it, but since you said it, it was, so.
Yeah. And I think it was a hard, which you'll see how that all this concept kind of impacts the rest of the game. But
I feel like it's going to be continuous drama with this.
Good to know.
Yeah. Buckle up.
Period.
But I will say it's always such a hard line, because it's like, and you've seen it in like games. I don't watch Big Brother as much. I'm more Survivor, but like you've seen it on Survivor where I think it was like the Island of the Idols, where like the whole sexual assault thing was being brought into the game, and it's like a real topic being brought into a strategic game. And it's like it shouldn't be brought into the game, but people use it. And that's the thing. It's like, from my perspective of like Edmund and Nick, I never thought like, oh, they're both Black, or like, oh, they're both gay. It's just like they were both big, louder personalities, and I would see them talk to each other, and because they were like similar personalities, they connected right away. And because, kind of like what we discussed earlier, those bigger personalities who are more flashy with their moves, that's perceptually easier to target. So I think that's why, and I think caused some conflict, because they're like, why are we being targeted when there's other people where, there were probably other people that were more strategic and more social, but they're being quiet about it. So they're not as easy targets.
Yeah.
And I think there's just so many different factors that play into it, where it's like, there's literally an Asian alliance being formed.
Literally.
It's like, you could assume that, and then it's bad to assume, even though it happened. So it's like, there's just so many different things. And I think people were having a hard time with like real life issues, and then emotions of the game, and then it's still being a game. You're trying to be strategic, but then people using different things. It was a lot, which I feel like we definitely, towards the end of like the game and at the reunion, we were allowed to like talk about a lot of different things. So I think that was good. But yeah, that challenge kind of really, to get back into the recap, that challenge really, I feel like, set the tone for the rest of the game.
Oh, that's good to know. It definitely created, I think it drew lines. To me, that's what it looked like. It was drawing lines in the sand, like, this is what we're thinking about you. This is, and even for me watching it, I think I would be just as annoyed as some people. Like if I was Edmund, I'd be like, ooh, oh, that's what y'all think. Like, I'm strategic, I'm sneaky, all these things that is to put a target on his back. Because literally, that's going to put a target on your back if everybody in the house thinks you're running the game. If everybody in the house thinks you're strategic, and I feel like I don't think, okay, I can understand the frustration. I think he could have reined in how frustrated he was a little bit, because arguing and getting so upset and verbally expressing how upset you are in a challenge in front of everybody is just adding more fuel, or more painting a bigger target on your back. I would have been like, I would have took it in.
Yeah, I would have been like, okay, maybe I need to change my game and not
you take it in
intense. And kind of take a step back, let other people start playing harder than I am.
Exactly.
And
because it just
get the target.
Exactly. Because I felt like the moment he started arguing with them and arguing in front of everybody about why he's not strategic, and just because people like me, or just because I click with people, and just because, it just made people, I feel like it could do either way, make people more intimidated of you if they were already intimidated by you, or make them want to get you out more, because it's like, now we see that this is the kind of person, this is what everybody else thinks, so it got to be right. Perception in these games are key. And so I was like, I was hoping he would calm it down a little bit, because I love it. Then I like him. I wanted him to succeed. But I'm like, you're already the bigger target. Why continue to make yourself the biggest target?
And thinking and understanding perception is key, but also perception, everyone's individual perception is their reality. It's like, take that information and then use it to adapt your game.
Agreed. So we see, like we said, Austin came back. Laura wins VIP.
Austin, and I know you have to head out, Kyle. But
yeah, I'm gonna head out.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Of course.
Are welcome back whenever you want, for whatever you want, for whatever you're watching.
Yeah,
we'll be here talking about all of it.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Hope some tea was spilled, clarified some things.
The clarification. Thank you.
It was the clarification for me.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
Because the editing was not.
Yeah, I'm so excited for you guys to watch the rest of the season. I'm excited to watch the rest of the season because I don't know how it was edited. Yeah, it is very exciting to watch because, yeah, like I said, the boot order.
Oh gosh.
Okay.
Well, then we got something to look forward to.
Yeah. So definitely worth continuing watching.
Period.
I mean, we'll be here watching and talking about it regardless of how it ends up being. So,
but you heard it here, folks, from Kyle Jennings himself. You know, it's worth watching. We go watch it. By the way, Kyle, I follow you on TikTok. Just one day because you're just so cute.
Yes. Go follow Kyle everywhere.
Instagram, TikTok, all that. Follow Kyle. It's good. Good.
They'll all be below.
If you're not following any of these people below, I don't know what's wrong with you. Because
make sure you subscribe, like, comment down below, hit the notification bell.
Thank you.
Period. But thank you so much,
if there's
Kyle.
A vote, if there is a season 5 and there's like an audience vote for me. Because I was robbed by a twist.
Yes, you
Very
are.
That.
Very that. But thank you so much, Kyle, for joining us. We appreciate you.
Have a good night.
Bye.
You too. Okay. Yes, Austin. I think
you could just leave it, close it. You know.
Yeah, just exit out of the tab and you're good.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, bye.
Bye.
We're leaving now.
Yeah.
We're leaving that. No, we're leaving it. All right, Lana. Since it's just us now, apparently. I don't know where Tajja got off.
We don't know. But, Wi-Fi technology is not. It's not always the best.
No, not at all. Not even the slightest. So we've got one more round. Laurel is the new VIP. Bestie Austin has returned to the game, and immediately Keaton is like, "Here are all of the votes from the last round that you weren't a part of."
Right.
I love this.
I was like, Keaton, give the man time to breathe. Oh my god. Like
Austin literally says in confessional, he's like, I'm just trying to go around and like talk to everybody and hug people. And Keaton's like, here's how everyone voted in the last round. And I'm like, okay.
I mean, Keaton is that person, the kind of person that you give a little piece of information to, and he is biting at the bit to tell everybody. It was so interesting to watch that. And it was like Austin was looking around like, somebody help me, get me out of here. But
literally like, Robin, hello.
Nathan, Robin, anybody?
Like, literally anyone. But yes, so we see the major thing that happens before we get the rankings is we see Xena pull Mona aside. And Xena tells Mona that Julia apparently told John and Matt in passing after this comp was over, all of the things. But Julia told John and Matt that she was in a good spot because Laurel won the competition, so she didn't need to be the switch. Now, how Xena got a hold of that information, that I don't know.
I don't know.
She might have heard it. She might have seen it happen. But regardless, We'll talk about the switch, but we do get the rankings. It is, again, I believe it's 2 people in the guest list, and so Laurel's guest list is Austin and Julia, which I thought was interesting given where Laurel was in the game, but obviously I like both of these 2 people, so I was very happy to see both of them in the guest list.
Exactly.
And I think, honestly, regardless of who won the VIP, I think everyone probably would have put Austin on the guest list.
Yeah.
1, because he just came back, and 2, because no one really had anything bad to say about Austin, honestly. Like, he was also
Austin went out. He was robbed out of the first round of that game. I felt like he really didn't have any bad blood with anybody. Nobody wanted. He wasn't one of those people who would come back and be a revolving door. Like I felt like I said before. I felt like if JP or Jules would have come back, they didn't have the social capital to change anything in the game, and people could have easily put them right back at the bottom and send them on home.
Absolutely.
And the same thing with, like, not saying social capital, but with Matt and John, they were too far involved in the game, where I feel like folks would have been like, nah, we already got rid of you once, we got to get rid of you again because you're too much of a threat. Whereas Austin and Kyle coming back in the game would have been like, okay, we didn't want y'all to go in the first place, so let's make
both
this
went
right.
out on bogus twists.
Exactly.
So
we're gonna make it right, and we're gonna give you a chance to play the game for real. So yeah, I think putting Austin in the guest list was a good, safe move for Laurel to make. Nobody was going to be mad at her for that. And then Julia, nobody's really gunning for Julia at this point either, but I feel like Julia is ready to play now.
Julia
and like,
is in a great position.
She's in a great position. And I feel like her making little moves with people is not loud and it's not out there, but it's just like little strategic moves here and there is what's pushing, like slowly building her up in people's eyes. Like what she did with Matt. She was like, if I would be the defender, I would save you. You know, just stuff like that. And, you know, people are seeing it. So
the little calculated moves, because Julia knows what she's doing.
she definitely knows what she's doing.
One of us. She's watched these games. She knows how these things work. Like, and it's really interesting to see, like, the people, especially that I know that are like online mini fans from our community, specifically a Robin and like Austin, Julia. I'm blanking on who even else. Edmund, JP, even to an extent. Like, these are people that kind of come from our community, so like the way they're playing the game is a little bit more understandable, and probably how I would play, and probably similar to how you would play in this sort of cast, in this sort of environment. But yeah, so we see Austin and Julia in the guest list. The rest of the middle of the rankings, we see Nathan, Xena, Mona, Edmund, and Nick, with the bottom 5 being Robin, Jada, Phaedra, Audrey, and Keaton in that order. And the other thing that wasn't emphasized, but then found out later, but it was never really like emphasized, is this is jury. We've made it to jury. So, yay. Good for all of you.
Jury
But yes, so we see those are the bottom 5. The switch, not surprisingly, I'm going to be honest, from John and Matt ends up being Phaedra. It did not surprise me at all.
No, I don't. I think they both like Phaedra. Phaedra was, like we said, we don't see the edit of Phaedra and her, but we see everybody's not trying to gun for Phaedra. Like nobody is outwardly saying Phaedra, and it was only that one time in that tie that Phaedra's name was even really she was any kind of danger. But even then, it wasn't like a for real danger. It's like we vote again, and she had she was easily brought out of the equation. So it's interesting. So I wasn't shocked when they picked Phaedra. So then this rumor started about how John and Keaton and Matt were close. And I'm like, where did that even come from? I don't know. But it caused John to go the last round. And, but now
so there was so we get the flashback.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so we see Phaedra's a switch. She switches herself with Nathan. So Phaedra is now 4th. Nathan is now in the bottom 5. So the bottom 5 is now in order: Robin, Jada, Nathan, Audrey, and Keaton. I wanted to clarify that before we jump into the flashback, because mid-episode, for no reason, there's a flashback. So we see, for a second, I was like, did they just not do the defender? Like, what's happening? And then I see John is there, and that's when I clicked. I was like, what is John doing here? He was just voted out. So it's everyone in an upstairs bedroom. They're all talking, and we see John talking about what you said, Lana, this whole John, Matt, Keaton relationship. And we see John talking about how Keaton passed him some tags during the bag tag challenge. Something that would have been lovely to see for continuity. But again, I understand there are extenuating circumstances given the production and editing of this season. So I understand. I did appreciate this flashback. Given everything that's happened, it did give a lot of clarity, though very strange, and I didn't understand it, and I had to watch it. I watched it 3 times because I was confused the first 2 times, and then the third I understood it. Honestly, I understand, again, Banishment. Again, Banishment. We love you. We appreciate you. But it's not that difficult to just put in a screen that says flashback to last round. And that would have been more than okay.
More than okay.
And I know that doesn't take that long because I know how to edit videos. I don't like doing it, but I know how to do it. And it doesn't take that long. But yes, so we see John saying that Keaton passed him tags during the bag tag, but that really was the end of that relationship. And he's even talking about how Keaton's a wild card and what. In this flashback, we also see Nick and Edmund having a conversation about being close allies, which we knew. And we see Mona asking John if he still has her back, which I thought was an interesting... That's a relationship I didn't know existed either.
Right. I didn't either.
But good to know. Sure. And then this is sort of a bit of an explanation. Ultimately, we realize this is sort of an explanation as to how Jada ended up getting 4 votes, because we see, who was it? It was Julia, Xena, and Mona having this conversation about not wanting to vote out John, so they decide to put their votes on Jada. And I appreciated the explanation of the 5-4-4. I will say I really appreciated that.
Same.
It gave a lot of context as to what was happening. I think it was also maybe they got backlash from that one episode, so they randomly threw in this little tidbit in this episode to give clarification. And if that's the case, thank you for listening to us. I appreciate it.
Right.
But yes, so that gives explanation as to why Jada ends up with 4 votes. We then go back and we see Keaton. Obviously, he's in the basement. He has to pick someone to be his defender. He's kind of asking around. He asks Nathan straight up, and Nathan doesn't give him a clear answer. And the only person to give him a clear answer is Mona. So he chooses Mona to be his defender. I arguably feel like that was probably the worst person to pick.
I'm like, what kind of relationship did you have with Mona? None.
0.
Literally none. And you think they wouldn't lie to your face? Honestly. But in this moment in time, I feel like everybody should have just been honest and be like, I'm taking the power because there's only 2 saves left. And I feel like that's just insane to think that anybody right now, especially after seeing what just happened to Matt. They just saw him save somebody and go right home for doing it. So you can't be like,
it
I
was.
would.
It was
I
kind
would.
of. It was.
It was. It was a dead on like DOA. Like he had no. It didn't matter who he picked. Nobody was saving him. Yeah. Nobody was saving him at this point.
And he says that after he's eliminated. He's like, I understand. Every one of y'all probably would have picked Power. So
of course. So Mona chooses Power, and
thereby
Keaton is our first jury. Yeah. Keaton is gone. Keaton
played the hell out of this game.
Keaton did everything that he could have possibly done in this game to save himself. The fact that he made it to jury when people were trying to get him out way before then, I give you kudos, sir. Yes. You get the kudos because you fought. He was scrappy. He fought like hell to stay in this game, and he made it to jury when folks was gunning for him from day one. So
yeah, and
kudos. But the kudos for you, Keaton, for being in first juror. But then I'm snatching the kudos away because of your less than impressive exit. I said it before, and I will say it again. If you're going to try to go out and shake the table as you go and flip some things around, and you at least got to have all your information in order and know what you go say before you do it.
Like, and I also understand, like, you don't have your phone. You can't really write anything down because that's technically cheating. So, like, I understand that. But, like, take that information, ask them to repeat it multiple times because they probably will. And then, like, choose the people specifically. You don't have to remember everybody. But pick, like, the people, like, if I was him, just looking at this vote, who would I have remembered? I would have remembered probably Xena voting out Jada.
Right.
I probably would have remembered, I don't know.
Mona voting out Jada.
I probably would have remembered Edmund voting out John. Maybe. I would have remembered Laura.
Because, see, this is the thing. He was really upset about the votes on Jada. That's who he was upset about. And he was like, I'm very annoyed that Jada shouldn't have got votes. I'm mad. So I would at least remember the votes on Jada. So if I was going to shake the table up as I left, I was going to let Jada know all the people that voted for her. So when she sees that it was people who was telling her that she was good with them, then you could have shaked some things up. Like, I would have been like, you know what? Last round, Jada got votes that she didn't deserve. So this is what I'm going to do. I got an exposed card. So all the people I know who everybody voted for, I don't really care who voted for John. Y'all know what y'all did. But the people that voted for Jada, y'all to be ashamed of yourself. Mona, Xena, John voted for Jada.
Julia.
And Julia, I would have called them out at least. Like, why y'all vote for Jada for no reason? Jada shouldn't even got no votes that round, but okay.
And I would have done all of this with one foot out the door. The door would have been open this whole time instead of standing by the ranking little moment piece, the mantelpiece, if you will.
I'm trying to remember.
I'm like, oh, honey, no.
Oh, you took your moment. You had the moment to blow some stuff up, and you just
Keaton, you're great and all, but Nick shaded the hell out of this man.
Yeah, he did.
Laurel shaded the hell out of this man.
I felt secondhand embarrassment for Keaton at that moment. I was like, I feel so bad. I feel so bad because he really thought he was going to do something with that information, and he really could have. But he ain't even make a napkin fall off the table. He ain't even shake the table where the napkins flew. Nothing happened. It was a womp womp.
Sorry, Keaton, but you're great. You played an amazing game.
Yes. You just didn't make a stellar exit. It's okay.
Okay. One more episode. One more. Okay.
Jesus.
We start episode 13, Sport Mode, which I love the title. This was my favorite title. Sport Mode. I don't know why, but Sport Mode. Ooh. So we start with Mona's power card. And Mona's reading out their power card. We find out that their power is to give immunity to anyone in the bottom 5. Now here's the tea. Because Mona is allegedly in this, and we see, I believe it was Audrey talking about this. Mona is allegedly in an alliance with Jada and Audrey, who are both in the bottom 4. And Mona decides to give their safety to Robin, which we love.
We love.
And knowing the dynamics between all of these people, it made a lot of sense for Mona to save Robin in this moment, because obviously trans women of color, period, end of story. Like, that's very understandable. And so we are left with Jada, Audrey, and Nathan still up for the vote. Zena and Robin are trying to get Audrey to say a name, and she just doesn't want to do it. And oh boy, Miss Audrey. She eventually says Jada, but oh boy. And then we find out Laurel tells Nathan that she wanted Phaedra to switch with Edmund because she really wanted to get Edmund out. And that would have been amazing.
That would have been something else. But I also feel like Phaedra knew she still want to be on Edmund's good side in case he wins again or something else happens. So Phaedra's not crazy to just be like,
Phaedra in a great position. Like I would say her and Julia, honestly, I think are in the 2 best positions right now, just from the optics that we've seen and from what we've seen of the edit. Like, I would say, like, those are the 2. What else do we see? Audrey is doing her pitch again, because she, in the match a vote with somebody, you so eloquently said the whole title in like 40 words, because that was the title. Audrey was voted to be a no-vote finalist. So now she is milking that for every single thing she can.
Although I feel like that was not the best argument to have at this point for her, because you going around saying you all should keep me because I am not going to get any votes in the end. And it's like, or you can keep putting me in the bottom, just save me, just keep saving me. That is the story all in itself. That is a strategy. And that is when you get to the end and you say, look, I knew my position in this game. I knew where everybody saw me. I was in the bottom every time, but I had the social connections where nobody voted me out. That is a story. Like, this person played the loudest, the most, they were all over the place, and nobody was gunning for them, but everybody was coming for me. But what I used was flip all that negative and turn it into, now I'm still here in this final 2. You can say that that's not strategy, but that is strategy that got me here and you sitting there. Anybody who came up next to me was out, and everybody who and I'm still here. So, and I think everybody saw through that. Nick saw through that. Robin saw through that. Everybody was like, nah, because you building a case for yourself while you're saying, I'm not going to get no votes. Like,
yeah, it unfortunately, like, Audrey was just in a difficult position, very similar to Keaton, honestly. For as much as they were butting heads, they were in a very similar position where, like, it just came to the point where, of the people left, Jada had all the connections, Nathan had all the connections, and Audrey just couldn't sit next to someone who was a bigger, I guess, threat. Because I wouldn't even really call any of the 3 of them threats. Because honestly, I think if Robin hadn't been saved, I think Robin maybe gets voted out here.
I agree, because Robin is not in that place of where people would want to, like, even Laura was saying something in her confessional. She said, I mean, Robin is I don't
We're
really talk.
good.
We're good, but I'm like, I wouldn't put her high to want to save them.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't have, you know.
Yeah.
So I feel like if anybody else, like she had that for a personal alliance with Audrey. Was Laura? No, it was Phaedra, Jada,
Phaedra,
Mona,
Jada,
and
Mona.
Audrey. So that could have been a thing that they could have stuck by. She also was good with not Nick, because Nick wanted her to go. Edmund didn't really want Audrey to go. So that's somebody else who would have voted for Audrey. So I feel like, yeah, if Robin was in that position, Robin probably had a
would have
good
gone.
chance to go. And it would have been, I would have been very sad about that. But,
we also see my favorite part of the round is Audrey and Robin trying to talk while Austin and Jada are fully next to them, and then Audrey and Robin walk off, and Austin and Jada are like, so we're voting Audrey, right?
Right. It was like so crazy. Austin and Robin walks out, and Austin and Robin like, so we're voting Audrey out, right?
So Audrey.
Robin is like, yeah, Robin. Hey, Audrey's it, blah, blah, blah. We have no thing. Audrey walks up. So who do you want, Audrey? I'm going to have to say Jada since she got 4 votes.
I don't want to
say Jada. And walks up is Jada. Jada walks right up and standing there like, so what are we talking about?
Here's the conversation, presumably. Like, it seemed like she heard Audrey say that, because they weren't that far apart either.
Right.
But yeah, that part was, we love a comic relief moment. I appreciated that. And then we see Phaedra in confessional, because I guess none of this was filmed. Phaedra in confessional says that her and Jada were talking. They end up telling Audrey they're going to vote her out. Right. And they tell her it's because she's bringing them down. And so many people are going after her. That's rough.
I was like, oh, you told somebody, a poor soul. You told that poor soul that we are voting you out because you are bringing us down.
And I don't want to presume that this is how Phaedra and Jada are, because I don't know them. I'm looking at the character they're portraying, or the lack of edit in Phaedra's instance. It felt very Mean Girls to me. And I don't want to believe that they're that way, but it felt very Mean Girls, like, you can't sit with us anymore.
You know what? It didn't feel Mean Girls to me.
Okay.
On mine, I took it as it was. So, you know how on something like if you're a sinking ship, you have to drop the baggage. You have to, if it's too heavy, you have to release, something. And I feel like what they did by voting out Audrey was they had to, the back of the plane was too heavy, so they had to release some of the baggage that was back there. It's a casualty, but it balances out the plane again, so nobody, and I feel like Audrey was the casualty, because very much so, if Jada and Phaedra and Mona continued to protect Audrey after so many rounds, then people are going to look at them like, oh, so y'all protected. So they had to let her go. And the fact that they told her that they were letting her go shows that they had some kind of compassion and some kind of respect for her. And so that was what I took from it. And I guess that's just the game person, the game thing that, game bot that I want to be sometimes. I don't claim to be, but I want to be. But
I know that feeling.
Right. I want to be that game bot that be like, you know what, this is all about the game in this moment. It's not anything personal. We do like you. We wanted to work with you. But at this point, we got to cut it. Like, when I'm going to work with you up to the point where it feels like I can't, like my back is against the wall. It's going to either be you or it's going to be me. And at that point for Jada, definitely, it was either going to be her or it was going to be Audrey. So she had to do what she had to do. Yeah. And Phaedra just took that side, was like, look, who is everybody looking at? And who is everybody coming after? It is Audrey. And so we can't keep protecting Audrey if every round somebody's going to come after Audrey. So I got it, and it wasn't mean. It was just the way she said it was kind of like, oh. But then if you think about it, it's like, okay, but I understand. The dead weight had to go.
It was probably the way she said it in confessional for me.
Yeah, like I said, it was the way.
I agree with everything you're saying, and that's probably how it was. Phaedra, Jada, let us know, because that would be great. But yeah, we lose good old Miss Audrey. Also made it a lot further than literally anyone thought she was going to, but she's lovely.
Now, what's just funny to me now that Audrey is gone, I want to know where the shift is going to go to, because everybody was looking at Keaton. Keaton is gone. Everybody was trying to get for Audrey. Now Audrey is gone. Now who we all looking at now? Who's the new target?
Who do you think it's going to be? Let's do some speculation here.
I feel like the target is going to shift to some of these bigger players, because I feel like a Edmund, a Mona, a Nick could be in trouble. And I think somebody said it on their way out, that they said Nick, Mona, and Edmund need to watch out, because they could be Audrey next. Did, yeah. Audrey said that. So I think people are starting to look, and in that game, like I said, that challenge only drew light and put the line in the sand for people, and people were taking notice of what people were saying and what they were, So I feel like,
and from Kyle's perspective, it sounds like that game really shifts everything.
Shifts things. So yeah, so I'm like, and with the way everything, the reactions that came from it, I can see an Edmund being in trouble. I can see a Nick being in trouble. I can see Mona being in trouble. Big personalities are going to be exposed, and the quieter people are going to come together and form something that I can see a Xena being in trouble, because Xena is playing double agent on both sides of the house, but her alliance fell apart on that East Coast alliance, literally disintegrated. Yeah. So she has to go to where the other side that she was working with, and that's all she has to cling on to. So I can see her being in some trouble as well. So I don't know. Who you think?
I think I agree. I think the biggest ones are going to be Edmund and Mona, based on the game that we saw. I also could see our dear friend Nathan in trouble. He's been there a few times now. I don't want to say it, but unfortunately, I feel like maybe Robin, because if someone in power ends up, there's someone with like the authority, a la the Edmund, the Mona, the Laurel, the Nick, any of those people gets the next VIP. I feel like Robin ends up in the bottom 5, and they very well. I don't necessarily think they would end up in the basement, but who knows with a switch? Who knows? Who knows who Keaton and Audrey are going to pick as a switch? Because that's.
But let's not gloss over. You mentioned dear Nathan. We cannot gloss over the ending of the last 5 to 10 seconds of Nathan's confessional, of him explaining his reaction during the vote count, and I grabbed Audrey's hand and I gave it a squeeze because it was Audrey and not me. And then when I hugged her, I said, I need to switch. I need to switch. And it clicked off. Like, is that too dramatic? Was that for the drama?
Nathan is the drama. Love you, sis, but you're the drama.
Yeah, I just feel like
that's a little bit of Miss Natalia coming out, because I've seen a lot of Natalia. That's a little Natalia coming out in here.
I said, oof, Nathan. I hope, but see, it could either work for him or it could work against him.
I hope he gets it. I hope Audrey's like, Nathan.
If he gets it, then kudos to him for getting it. If he doesn't and it works and it backfires against him, I'm be like, oof.
Because I'm even trying to think.
To me, I feel like that's a little tacky.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would agree. It's interesting because like Keaton basically had no one at the point that he got eliminated. I honestly think there's a good shot we see Robin as a switch.
I could see, because Keaton wanted Robin to be his number one.
Yep.
At the end of the episode before Audrey goes out, who is Audrey talking to the most? Robin. They having a heart-to-heart conversation. Robin is pepping up like, I want you to be more confident in yourself. You got this, da da da.
In the midst of Audrey going around being the Roxy Andrews of the Penthouse season 4, which I loved. All of the Roxy Andrews references. It was like, that's my girl. She knows her drag.
Right.
And now we know that was apparently a big bonding moment. I would have fit in perfectly fine.
Yeah, I would have been completely lost. I'd have been completely lost. I would have had one drag queen I can bring up, like, ooh, what y'all think about Latrice Royale?
Yes, you would have been fine. Bring up Latrice Royale and you're good.
Okay, that's all I need. Period. But yeah, so I think you're right. Robin had a really good chance to become the switch again, which might come in handy if she's in that bottom, like whoever becomes the next VIP.
I don't know. I love how we didn't plan for like any specific, we're just going to do a week's worth of episodes. And it conveniently ended at a very, very good spot for us. Because now this really feels like, now that Audrey is eliminated, this feels like the second half of the game.
Once it hit jury, I knew it was going to turn into something. Now the second part of this game is going to pick up. And I feel like from what we heard from Kyle, that game, that challenge is what's going to be the catapult for the rest of the season. And if that is the case, that makes me excited, because it's like, that game was chaotic and drama filled and just crazy. So the rest of the season is going to follow suit and be just as chaotic and just as drama and emotionally charged, because these people are big personalities and with a lot of emotions and a lot of feelings. And when you're in that situation, in that game, that's all they're living right now at that moment. They were living, breathing, eating this game. So it's going to be very emotionally charged, I feel, and I can't wait to see what happens. I want the power shifts that's going to change rapidly back and forth. I'm ready for the whirlwind. It's going to be a whirlwind, and I'm ready for it.
And we'll be here next week, probably with a 3-hour episode.
we let's hope not 3, but
there's going to be timestamps for all the rest of the videos this season. There's going to be timestamps below to look at specific episodes. I'm going to do it with this one as well. Y'all will already have seen that, because I understand 2.5 hours is a lot to sit through. But nevertheless, we appreciate you so much for joining us. Lana, I wanted you as well before we leave, very, very quickly. Winner pick.
Whew. You know, earlier in the season, I would have said somebody like possibly Edmund, possibly Matt, even possibly Xena, even. But I think it's shifting for me. I feel like the winner pick is going to be very surprising for some, but understandably so. My winner pick is Julia.
Mine is too. Absolutely.
Like, Julia has been very impressive these last few episodes for me. She's not loud and she's being very strategic and quiet, but she's slowly making moves that's building that's building blocks that she's stepping up. She's just stepping up. And people are seeing quietly, like starting to see how smart Julia is. And she didn't come in showing off how smart she was. She was just like, I'm just this quiet little person standing in the background. I'm here. But she was observing the whole time. The whole time. And you could see it in her eyes. She was just watching and picking her points to step in and do stuff. She is definitely on my radar for winner pick. I would not be surprised if Julia won. And I would be here for it too.
Yeah.
As much as I love some of these people in this game, the way she's playing it is brilliant to me. Yeah. It's brilliant. It's how I want to be, but I know I'm not.
Absolutely.
I know I am not, but it's how I want to be. But
I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. Julia was definitely my pick. I'm going to pick another one just to be different. So we have a couple different opinions. My pick is Julia. But I think a second pick that is equally understandable yet somewhat surprising, I'm going to say Xena. And I understand that she's in a very precarious position at this moment. I think if she can make it out of this next round, because there are still people like the Edmonds and the Monas and even the Phaedra, because they're all plural apparently in my mind. Edmund, Mona, Phaedra are these people that are kind of like she's kind of using as this shield. I think in a very similar way to Julia, I think Xena might be able to just slide under and not really, because she still hasn't been in the bottom 5 either. One of the few people, there's probably only Xena, because Julia has been in the bottom 5. It's probably only Xena at this point. And Laurel.
Yep.
And Xena, Laurel, Edmund,
and Nick. Yeah.
Probably. There's probably someone else we're forgetting. But I could see Xena sliding her way and making a power move maybe round 6, round 7. And like sliding her way. Maybe some allies take out allies. Definitely. I think her move would have to be Mona.
Well, no, I'm saying, no, I was saying Mona hadn't been in the bottom 5 either.
Correct. Thank you. Yeah, I think if she makes a move in one of the later rounds, I think we could see her in the finale as well. So my pick is going to be Julia or Xena at this point.
I can see that. I can.
As much as we love Robin, and as much as we love Nathan, obviously, and as much as we love like most of the people on this cast, like that's just.
It's just who we see right now, and right now I see Julia doing things that are good strategic moves that she's making, but it's very understated, so people aren't catching it right now. But by the time they catch on, it's gonna be too late, and they're gonna be out the door.
Yep.
Like we saw the power that her, Robin, and Nathan had at that moment when they tied that vote, and it was like, and they just picking people off who are not with them at this point, and that's what you have to do. And out of the even if you look at the allies that she has with Robin and Nathan, nobody's going to go for Julia first.
No.
If they try to come for them. They're going to go for Robin or Nathan first before they go for Julia. They're going to think that Julia is the less threat because she positioned herself that way in the beginning. People don't see her threatening, but they also don't see her as a top ally. So that's why she ended up in the bottom 5 in the beginning, or she ended up in the bottom 5 anyway. So it's like she was like what they did with Kyle and with, we'll put you here, but we don't want you to go.
Yep.
And so far it's been working. And so yeah, that's who I feel. And Xena is the same way. I feel like now that Matt and John are gone, she just has to pick up her pieces from her dismantled alliance and roll with it. Find your place and stick with it and make the moves that you need to make.
Yep. Completely agree. I'm very excited. I'm very excited for the end game, genuinely. Like I think
now I'm excited because at first at the beginning, these first the started episodes, I was like, okay.
Yeah. And I think when we look back at the season, once it's all over, I think we're gonna feel that like it's a good season, and this is like the moment where it's ramping up and There's a reason we spent 2.5 hours talking about it, like, because
Exactly.
it's good. Like,
I mean, it's like any show like Big Brother or Survivor or the beginning stages is always like, it's a lot less. I mean, for Big Brother, it's interesting because it's all these people, all these personalities. But once it gets to the jury phase, it's like now people are going for blood. In the first half, everybody's working for their alliance. In the second half, everybody's working for themselves because the end is near and you have to start playing for yourself. So that is where we are with Penthouse right now. People are going to start ramping up their energy. They go ramp up their gameplay, and I'm excited for it. I'm here for it.
I am too. And as always, thank you for joining us for yet another episode of The Cup Penthouse Season 4. Make sure to follow us, subscribe, like on YouTube. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at @thecup_reality. Make sure to follow us on Twitch as well. We will be doing live streams starting here very soon for Celebrity Big Brother, potentially for Drag Race UK versus the World. We're still working out the kinks, but as soon as we know what we're doing, y'all will know. So make sure to follow. Do all the things. Make sure to follow Kyle because he's incredible and wonderful and was a great guest tonight. Make sure to follow all of us because we're great. And with that, Lana, cheers, my love.
Cheers, love. So bye, y'all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for coming. We love you.
Are you still here?
Please go. I'm sleeping now.